And welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lunch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. It's the best part, guys. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and just like right now, sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to TheIndianJesus.com for your very own official merch. If you're still wearing a mask, you can get it on a mask. Bunch of stuff only at TheIndianJesus.com. Guys, we do also have our free Discord server. That's right, 24/7 we're in there hanging out. It is a great place to meet people, hang out, and have a good time. And like I said, it is free to join. However, if you are a member of this channel, you can scroll right below the video here, hit that join button. There's a few different tiers. But it starts at just $2.99 a month, gets you members-only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it also opens up the full Discord server, guys. So as soon as we are done with the live stream here on YouTube, we head over to an after party. So you don't have to worry about any YouTube censors, and you are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. It is a good time. Definitely come and join us. Let's do this. Shout out to King Nirvana in the building. And we also got Zippy, the SM Lee. Welcome, 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 guys. You know what it is. Trump on JRE. Let's dive right in. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night.
Let's go!
All right, we're rolling. Good to see
Let's
you.
roll.
There we go.
Donald J. Trump.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to play this, but we decided we shouldn't play it because it could get copyright strike, and we don't want to get the episode. We don't want anybody to have any sort of way to get it down.
Sure.
But it was the episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
And you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug.
Yep. If you guys have not seen that, I'm pretty sure we've shown it on stream before, but if they're being careful and whatever, we'll be careful as well. But yeah, they were The View. They were welcoming him, hugging him, kissing him. Shout out to Unwanted Foe. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's dive right back in.
Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were all talking about how you're you might be conservative in your financial positions, but you're very liberal socially. They were talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering. And then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably no one in history that I've ever seen that's been attacked the way you've been attacked, and the way they've done it so coordinated and systematically. When you see those same people in the past, very favorable to you, like Oprah, when you were on Oprah's show,
very.
she was encouraging you.
Last week, I did one of her last shows. I think maybe Thursday or Friday. That was a big deal being on Oprah's show, the last one. And I was like one of the last shows in that final week.
Wow.
And I said, boy,
She's like, yeah, definitely. You should definitely go and do it. Oof, foot in mouth.
we've come a long way since that.
What was it
And,
like?
Well, the concept, it was really like two different lives. You know, I had a very wonderful life, but I wanted to do this. The Apprentice was still going very strong. We had 12 seasons. Wow. And we had actually 14 seasons, 12 years over. We had a couple of.
Shout out to Jennifer Williams. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So it doesn't seem like the 81 million Americans who voted for Biden are going to vote for a candidate who has been charged with crimes because he tried to illegally disenfranchise their votes. Well, I definitely see the parallel with, not upholding democracy. I think that is certainly going to come into play. But welcome to the party. Zibby says the Democrats then are no longer Democrats now. They are no longer the Democratic Party. Agreed.
They canceled The Apprentice when you were running for president, correct?
No, they had Arnold Schwarzenegger do it. I was involved.
And you know what? I watched that. And I was late to The Apprentice. And so I really only knew of like the Celebrity Apprentice phase. But once I started watching it, I loved it. And then when Arnold came in, I mean, I love Arnold, but just wasn't the same without Trump.
Involved in that. And I had enough of it, and we did great. It was doing great, but they wanted me to stay. They all came to see me. They said, we're going to give you a contract. They wanted to extend my contract. Mark Burnett is a great guy. Then they wanted to extend the contract. Mark said, you're crazy. Don't run. No. Nobody gives up prime time, they said. It's one of those little things, which is probably true.
Yeah, and that's such a big thing that for so long I was not able to deal with the fact that it's a very reasonable question. Why would Trump do this? Why would Trump go and get himself into politics when he has a primetime show, all this money, all that stuff? And for so long, as a never Trumper, I was like, well, he just has a big ego, which is stupid. He actually cares. There is no other explanation. Shout out to Jason Kruger. Welcome to the party. Arnold, you're fired. Shout out to Quantic. Welcome to the party. Referring to our poll here. Replay gang, let me know in the comments below. Will Kamala do JRE before the election? Our options are no. She knows she couldn't. She will go on and she will fumble, or she will and she'll do all right. Which do you think? Context said, even if Kamala did the podcast, it's just one more example of her following in Trump's footsteps. How many things has she copied off him now? Day late and a couple of screws short of a full brain. Indeed. Welcome to the party.
For prime time, though, for being president?
For running against 20 some odd people, turned out to be 18 professional people, mostly politicians.
And eventually Hillary Clinton, who, for good reason, everybody was like, yeah, she's next.
They said, who would do this? I mean, it's a long shot. Actually, the heads of NBC came over, the Paul Telegny, all the top people came over to see me, try and talk me out of it, because they wanted to have me extend. The Apprentice was doing well. So it was 14 seasons. It was 12 years. We had 2 seasons where we had a double, which rarely happens. It was just a hot show. And I said, I want to do this. What happened is previously, 4 years before that, they did a poll. They had Mitt Romney, and somehow they put me in a poll. And I blew everybody away. I blew him away, which isn't that hard, frankly. But I blew everybody away. And I said, that's interesting, because I never really gave it that much real thought. I thought about it, but never real thought. But I saw these polls were very good. And so I was thinking about doing it then, but I had a contract with The Apprentice. Plus, I was building 2 big buildings at the time, and I wanted to make sure they got finished up properly. And it was one of those things. The kids were just sort of getting involved. They're very capable kids, but they were getting involved early on. So I did that. I got them done. I had some very good successes. And I came on, and then I thought about it for the next one after the Romney disaster. And I ran and I won against Hillary. It was quite an experience. But
indeed, he did. Shout out to AIM in the building. Welcome to the party. Very, very good to see you guys. If you have not already, please do hit that like button for me. It is free, it's easy. It helps out so very, very much. Welcome. Jason said, copy is easy. To pull it off successfully, we don't think Kamala can. Yeah, that's even if she was just going to say, okay, I'm going to do everything that he's going to do. Could you though? I don't think so.
It was a different life, because you're right. The View, I was on The View many, many times. And they loved me.
Just the way people would talk. I mean, even if people had criticisms about you, people that didn't like you, there was always feuds and stuff like that. But the reality was, the thing turned on you when they found out that you were going to be president. It was very coordinated. And some people are catching on to that now. There's a lot of people that were longtime Democrats, like Elon and Bill Ackman and all these different, very intelligent people.
And they support me now. Bill Ackman supports me. He's been very supportive too.
This is what I wanted to ask you.
Ackman?
What was it like when you actually got in? Because nobody really can prepare you for that. When you're running for president, you don't really know what it's going to be like when you actually get into office.
What did I tell you about the aliens, bro?
What did you think it was going to be
in
like?
Office, or when I decided to run?
No, when you got in.
When I was in. So when I was in and won and was in the White House, essentially. Yes. Well, first of all, it was very surreal. It's very interesting. When I got shot, it wasn't surreal. That should have been surreal. When I was laying on the ground, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew exactly where I was hit. They were saying you were hit all over the place because there was so much blood from the ear.
Very interesting. I want to come back to that, because I'm pretty sure he says exactly the same thing when they are talking about the attempt. But very interesting notion that, it wasn't surreal, and I've heard him say that before. But we'll get that again into that when they are talking about it. Anne says, as time progresses, Kamala shows she's having difficulty sticking to the narrative, Probably because she has to memorize her viewpoints and agenda. Yeah, I mean, liars have to remember a lot more than people who are being truthful do, because you don't have to remember anything. You just have to, talk about what you think and feel in the moment. Exactly right. Nirvana said, "I hope he shows Trump his bear impression." I'm not familiar, so I guess I do too.
You would know that better than anyone. When they get the ear torn up,
Ears bleed a lot. Yeah.
bleed. Anyway, so and I was thinking the other day, when that happened, I really knew where I was. I knew exactly what happened. I said I wasn't hit anywhere else. With the presidency, it was a very surreal experience. Okay,
Like, what's day one like?
so
You win,
yeah,
you get inaugurated.
so-
Holy shit, I'm the president.
Yeah, that's what happened. So I'm driving down Pennsylvania Avenue. I just built a building on Pennsylvania. The hotel, the old post office it was. We called it Trump National.
Wait. Trump built a hotel? Just kidding. Contact said, and we know that Trump knew exactly what was going on when he got shot. That's why he capitalized it on so well. Yeah, and that's exactly well said. The ability to be like, oh, this just happened. I need to capitalize on this moment. It's akin to when Conor McGregor broke his leg in I forget, was that the Khabib fight? This is how far removed I am from UFC, but yeah, he was fighting. I'm pretty sure he was fighting Khabib, and he throws a leg kick, and just like Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva, his leg snapped. And they talk about how it was just a brilliant move to embody anger there. And the question was he just angry, or was he playing the character? And I think it was a similar thing of realizing, oh, this is a big moment. And sometimes when the stuff is that big, it is easier to stay in the moment. Sometimes it's more of the mundane stuff that you're expecting to know what it's like, and you get there and you don't, that throws you off. But if you are aware that you just got in the face, then it makes sense that you're not really sure what's going on. It takes a second, and that's probably what was the let me get my shoes, and then taking that time, and then fight. Guys, one like equals one. Fight. Hey, shout out to Unwanted. Bo said, oh, praise Overlord Morty. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very, very, very much appreciated, sir. Am said, even Anderson Cooper exposed her hypocrisy, and I'm loving it. Yeah, I mean, you see the playbook that they go along with the lie in the narrative as long as they can, and then as soon as they can, they just switch course and then pretend that they never were on the other story in the first place. And for some reason, it works. I don't get it. All right, I'll definitely have to check that out. Shout out to Carl's Frosted Tips in the building. Said Trump's momentum is growing, and he can very well win this. Kamala won't do it. If she does it, it won't be for 3 hours. That's for damn sure. Maybe you get 40 minutes. I'll take 40 minutes. Hey, look at that with the $1.99. Thank you so very, very much, sir. And of course, Morty very much appreciates it. Thank you, guys. Really do appreciate it. Let's dive back in here.
I just built a building on Pennsylvania. The hotel, the old post office it was. We called it Trump National Hotel. And we sold it to the Waldorf Astoria. And it was a wonderful thing. But I'm driving down, I'm passing the hotel. You've never seen so many motorcycles, police, military. It was a major thing. I got off really the first time I used Air Force One, landed, and we're coming down, and it was very beautiful. I mean, it was incredible. And we're going down Pennsylvania Avenue in the opposite direction. Normally you used to go.
Shout out again to Unwanted Foe for being our sponsor, and Carl's Frosted Tips. Very much appreciated, guys.
And all of a sudden you're going the other way. The street was loaded up, and I wanted to go out, and I wanted to wave to everybody, but that wasn't smart. The kid's a little bit dangerous, right? I mean, when you watch like Kennedy and some others, right? But I really felt, I don't know, the love was so crazy. And so I did get out of the car for a brief, just for a very short walk. I thought it was very important to do. And Melania got out with a beautiful dress on that became sort of a staple. It was, people loved it. And Barron, and we're walking down the street. But where it really got amazing. We get to the White House, and now it's a little bit before dark, beautiful. And we went up to the president's quarters. They call them the presidential quarters. And I'm standing in this beautiful hallway. It's funny. Nobody ever talks about the White House as being beautiful inside. You think it's going to be, everything's going to be all metal doors and stuff. It's not.
I mean, people pretty often talk about how beautiful it is inside, but I'll let him go on. Let's shout out Jay Dead in the building. Welcome. Good to see ya. And said, in related news, Arizona poll workers are not allowed to do anything when they see ballot harvesting or mass ballot drop-offs. But we do have people who sit outside locations with ARs. Well, we knew it was coming, guys. We knew it was coming. Nobody ever said this was going to be any easier than 2020. All we got to do is remember that polls cannot vote. Only you can. Only you can.
As being beautiful inside. You think it's going to be, everything's going to be all metal doors and stuff. It's not. It's so beautiful. I made my money largely on luxury. The hallway is like 25 feet wide. The ceiling heights are, it's so beautiful. But I was standing there and I said to the guys, I want to see the Lincoln bedroom. I had never seen the Lincoln bedroom. I'd heard about the Lincoln bedroom. And I was standing with my wife. I said, do you believe this is the Lincoln bedroom? I mean, it was like, it was amazing, because look, if you love the country, but here you're, the Lincoln bedroom, and the bed, he was very tall. He was 6'6", which then would be like Barron.
Right.
Would be like Barron Trump. He's 6'9".
6'9", bro. That's insane. How many people are 6'9"?
But 6'6", he was very tall. Then on top of that, he wore that. Yeah, there it is. It's a long bed, elongated bed. And because people were shorter than you see, some of the chairs are very, very low to the ground, actually. But he had the long bed, and they had.
It's like, who was it? Man, I forget who it was, but somebody was like, I think it might have been Theo, but somebody was like, "Are you sure you want to overturn Roe v. Wade as your boy is getting to that age?" It's like, well, I mean, God.
And you had the Gettysburg Address right under that. You can't see it here, but right there, the original version of the Gettysburg Address. And this is the original. And I'm looking, and I just looked around. I said, do you believe this? Because I was never a politician. First of all, even if you were a politician, but I was never a politician. I sort of just started, right? And all of a sudden I'm standing in the White House. And it was very, very surreal. That room was so beautiful to me, much more beautiful than it actually is. To me, when I looked at the bed, and the bed, you could see it was a little bit longer, had to be a little bit longer. He lost his son, and the two of them suffered from melancholia. They didn't call it depression.
So I would bet you that there's a lot of liberals who at this stage in the conversation, we are 9 minutes into the conversation, and I bet you that there's a lot of people who are talking about, oh, he's just rambling. Like, no, he's telling a story that has a lot of avenues, as the weave, as he says. And the fact that we're at a place where, just being able to talk is the bar, but he's doing it. So he's got it over here.
They called it melancholia, and they suffered from it. He was a very depressed guy, and she was a very depressed woman, more so than him. And on top of that, they lost their son, whose name was Ted. And it was just seeing it in the little pictures, a little tiny picture. I mean, you can't see the details there. Little tiny, everything the way it was, a little tiny picture of Ted, who he lost. And it was devastating. And he was in a war. He was having a hard time because he couldn't beat Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee won like 13 battles in a row. And he was getting like a phobia, like a fighter, a lot about the fight stuff. But
it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that I was somebody who just accepted that Donald Trump was some dumb guy. Like, I just bought that for so long, just because other people said it.
Like, I went to a UFC fight, and it was a champion who was 14-1 about a year ago. You would know the names. 14-1, and the only guy he lost to was this one guy. But the guy that he was fighting was like almost just an average fighter, lost numerous times, but he beat this one guy. So I said, okay,
I really don't know who you're talking about. I'm trying to.
I will figure it out.
Okay.
But about a year ago. But the point is that
Talking about John Jones? That's the only person I could think of because he lost that. But he didn't lose that fight. I don't know.
he lost. He wasn't nearly the fighter as the one, but the one who was not nearly the fighter had beaten. He's the only guy that beat the champ like 5 years before. And I said, I'll take the guy that won the other fight. And that's what happened. He beat him a second time.
Sometimes
Lincoln,
psychological advantage.
Yeah, what is this crazy thing? Lincoln had I don't know, I've never read this. I heard it from people in the White House who really understand what was going on with the whole life of the White House.
Yep, King Urbana, spot on. Said he just mentioned Robert E. Lee. That means he wishes the South would have won, is what the lefty news will say. Yep. But here's the beautiful part about it. It doesn't matter. This is the mainstream media, not in the sense that, mainstream, but this is more mainstream than the mainstream media. I mean, this came out 18 hours ago and has 17 million views. That's almost 1 million views an hour for 18 straight hours. Insane. This is the new format that people trust. And I think that, for a long time, we've been seeing that, legacy media isn't what it used to be. But this is iconic. This is iconic. It is just a nail in the coffin of the era where the media that you saw on your TV was the top level. That's just over now. Jay Dead said, Trump likes talking, so he tends to go astray when telling a story. But that's not a bad thing because he always gets to his point in the end. And this is why people like the very short periods, the debates where you only have 3 minutes and all that stuff, because they can use propaganda and rhetoric and talking point, all that bullshit to slide by in that. When it comes to this, we're unedited, no commercials, no breaks, no nothing, just being a person. Just being a person for 3 hours. We're at a place where no one of in a position of real consequence can go on these shows and just talk. That's your job. That's what you're there for. Yeah, just off the cuff as well for 3 hours. And so, speaking of which, we are definitely not going to get through the whole thing today. What I would like to do is try to get in as much as we can today, and then we'll do a part 2 tomorrow. And then we'll see where we go from there. So I haven't actually seen the very end of it. So depending on what is at the very end, I'll figure out. Maybe we'll jump. We'll skip something in between. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But we're gonna do part 1 today and part 2 tomorrow. And then Monday, remember, 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This Monday, Am I Racist comes out on Daily Wire Plus. So we will be covering that in full. So make sure you are subscribed. We are on the road to 5K, guys. Help me get to 5K subscribers. Jay Dead said short debate times are for canned replies. Canned replies that have been rehearsed about 1,000 times. Bingo. Nail on the head.
People in the White House who really understand what was going on with the whole life of the White House. But Lincoln had the yips about, in a way, as the golfers would say. He had a phobia about Robert E. Lee. He said, I can't beat Robert, because Robert E. Lee won many battles in a row. He was just beating the hell out of him. They tried to get Robert E. Lee to be on the North, but he said, no, I have to be with my state. The state was his whole thing. And he went to the South.
Kind of based.
And he was, I've had generals tell me, we have some great generals, the real generals, not the ones you see on television, the ones that beat ISIS with me. We defeated ISIS in record time. It was supposed to take years, and we did it in a matter of weeks. These are great generals. These are tough guys. These are not woke guys. But their favorite general in terms of genius was Robert E. Lee.
In terms of strategy, you mean?
Strategically. He took a war that should have been over in a few days, and it was, years of hell, of vicious war. And so here I am standing there. And again, I had never really done this before. I ran a number of months before I won. I probably, I guess if you figured max it out, it would be a year, something like that. So I had never run for office. And I did well. I mean, I went into debates. We had 18 people, including me. And then slowly but surely, they started to disappear. We had debates, good debates.
And the fact that I was not able to enjoy that. This is a pattern in my life where there's something happening and it's awesome. And I just don't see it for what it is. Whether it's the rise of Donald Trump, whether it's Game of Thrones or the MCU, but there's so many things that it's like after the fact, I'm like, oh, that would have been really cool to be on board while it was live. Thankfully, I came to my senses, but man, oh man, would I have liked to be able to enjoy 2016 Trump.
18 people, including me. And then slowly but surely, they started to disappear. We had debates, good debates.
Everyone's aware of all this stuff. What I want to get to is like, what was the experience once you got inside?
It
Like,
was just
what did you think it was going to be like in terms of like your ability to govern?
Yeah.
Like, this is your first experience governing anything. You've never been a governor. You've never been a mayor.
Private stuff.
Business.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you're inside the White House.
The biggest thing was just that first moment of being in this hallowed, it was really a hallowed place to me. It was surreal. It was beyond. To me, that was the experience. It was a surreal experience. And then with time.
Yep, and I haven't caught up with. I haven't watched the Batman and caught up with the Penguin either, and I'm sure I'm gonna be mad about that. It's just my life. It's just my life.
That wears off. With time, it becomes your place where you stay. And I was doing a lot of. I had two things that I really focused on: governing the country and survival. Because from the moment I won, before I got to office, all of a sudden, they came down. I mean, nobody has ever been treated that way.
Shout out to whatever. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. Good to see you. Have you guys already seen this, or is this your introduction to it?
All of a sudden, they came down. I mean, nobody has ever been treated that way. And you see that. I mean, you see where in the Washington Post very early on, they said, well, now the impeachment stuff starts. And it did. I mean, it literally started from the beginning. So I had survival and run the nation. I had a combination. Most people don't have the survival. They get in.
What did you expect, though, in terms of like once you got inside, you had to appoint all these people? Yeah. Like, how many appointments did you have to make?
Well, you have actually 10,000 appointments. Now they're different. You have big ones, and then they appoint.
Right.
Okay. So since some of you guys have seen this already, let's put a lens on this. So obviously, if you're seeing this for the first time, just watch it for what it is. But I want to, for those of you who have seen this already, take on the lens of if Kamala was in this seat. If Kamala was fielding these questions, not as she is, but if she was, the Republican person, if she had the responsibility of having these answers and answering to people like us, how would she do here? That is the lens that will show you how different. Not that you don't already understand, but that's how you really get the full effect here. The full effect.
100 people and 200 people. But the president really is involved with approximately 10.
What the hell is a floating floor? What is a floating floor? I've never heard of that before.
1,000 appointments. So you'll appoint a Secretary of State, and he or she will appoint a lot of people. So it's a lot. But in terms of major ones, you probably have like 100, but they're big ones. Treasury, State, military.
And how did you know who to appoint?
Well, I didn't. I had no experience. You have to understand.
So
I was there 17 times in Washington. And I never stayed over. According to the press, which I think is probably right, over the years, I was only there 17 times. I never stayed over. So now I'm sitting there, I'm saying, this place is gorgeous, but I don't know anybody. It's like you go to certain areas, and other areas, they may be great. Washington was great. Washington's not so great right now. We got to fix it. We got to make it better. A very dangerous place, very badly maintained place.
Put a one in the chat if you would move to Seattle.
We're going to make it great. We're going to make it better. We're going to bring it back. But I wasn't a Washington guy. I was a New York guy. I was a New York builder, and I built buildings in New York, and I knew that whole world, but I didn't know the Washington world too well. And all of a sudden, you're supposed to be appointing top people. So
what did you think it was going to be like? Men. Versus, like, did you have any ideas of what it was going to be like, and what was different?
Well, I was always involved in politics, but usually from the standpoint of a donor. I was a donor. I was a big donor. I gave money to politicians. I enjoyed
Mostly Democrats, right?
Ooh, Jason, that's another good question. If you're rewatching this, how not exactly that, but would Joe be harder on Kamala? I mean, very, very, very good question. But another aspect is how would we expect the comparison of Rogan and Kamala versus Rogan and Biden? I do think he would be, no, I don't think, if we're talking about this, Joe, I don't think he would be harder on Kamala because I don't think he feels like he would need to be. I feel like he understands that if he just has the conversation, she will hang herself with her own words. So I would say no, and I would suggest that he doesn't, because that just gives the escape route of, oh, well, he gave a fluffy softball conversational interview to Trump, and now he's going at it with Kamala. But yeah, that I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he's smart enough to realize, number one, that I don't want that dichotomy of being hard on one and not the other. But also that she's dumb. She's dumb. It's called floating floor because it's how you install it. You use it under alignment and then floor planks. Learn something new every day. J-Dad said Kamala would have a hard time with Joe's follow-up questions. Most of her answers are an inch deep and a mile wide. Yep. Am said maybe he's talking about Anderson Silva's loss to Chris Weidman. I don't watch like that, so I could be wrong. No, because he was never at 14-1. I think you're right. I think you're right. Good call. Yeah, because he was. I think he was undefeated up until then, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. The fact that Joe didn't call that and you did, yeah. Damn. Yep. Shout out to Gridiron Masters. Welcome to the party. So just finished watching this. It'd be great if they could do those while he's in office. Hell yeah. That would be amazing. That would be really, really, a lot of the comments. And I wanted to make sure that we do go and check out some of the comments. But yeah, a lot of people are saying that like this should be a standard thing that politicians at all levels have to do. Not necessarily Joe Rogan, but just long form interviews where they you can't just get away with the talking points and all that stuff. Absolutely. Guantek said, I see an interview with Kamala being very surface level and with very little value. The most charisma and enthusiasm you would probably get out of her would be her cackling. Yeah, please. No, thank you. Yeah, so he said 14, but he definitely could have, just said 14 and thought it was 14. So I think you're right.
Of a donor. I was a donor. I was a big donor. I gave money to politicians. I enjoyed politics.
Mostly Democrats, right?
Both, really, pretty much both. I actually pictures of Ronald Reagan and me when I was very young.
You were a Democrat until like what year?
I was a Democrat. I could get you the exact, but the early 90s. I switched over eventually. Actually, they had a reform party. I was thinking about doing that for a little while, but then fortunately I didn't because it's very hard. It's a two-party system. And anytime you hear third party, I know you like RFK Jr. and so do I. He's a fantastic guy.
I do, but I thought that being an independent was nonsense.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work because even if you do great, you're not going to get Congress. In other words, you need now to say, okay, now I'll get half of Congress. It's never going to vote for you.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. Just because it's whatever company Theo works for, they copyright like crazy. I'm scared that they're going to copyright this, but Joe's company is a little bit better. But I haven't gotten to see that yet. But I did see the part where Theo's like, "You can't even do cocaine in America, man. What's this country coming to?" I like Vance the more I see him, and he is the opposite. And the opposite is true for Walz. Bingo. Absolutely. I mean. Just the degree to how bad of a choice Walz was compared to how good of a choice Vance was. Now, I'm not saying that Vance was the most amazing thing that could have ever been done. I really like him, but good choice. But the comparison of the Republican choosing their VP versus the Democrat choosing their VP, it is just worlds apart. Jason said, would Joe vote for Trump after this interview? I think so. I want to vote. I'm pretty sure Joe was voting Trump even before the interview. I think so. Yeah. So initially he was like, no, I don't want to have him on. I don't want to help him. But even think about that was what, like 6 or so, 6, 8, 10 months ago, somewhere in that, less than a year ago. And look how much the landscape has changed since then. You know, we were just talking about King Divine and I were just talking about how Dave Smith, it was in the same position where he, you know, obviously hated the Democrats and the wokeness and Kamala and the warmongers and the neocons and all that stuff. But he was not going to vote. And then he saw the town hall that Kamala did. And he was like, I got to vote for Trump. You deserve to lose. It's like, yeah, bro. Yeah. Whatever. Said I didn't know either when they were both tapped to be VP. Same. Yeah, I had no idea about either of them. And yeah, the more I see, the more I like of Vance. And as whatever said, the opposite is true for Walls. And said, you see that in 2016, Trump had 14% LGBTQ votes. That jumped to 28% in 20, and now there is about 14 to 18% still undecided, which could increase Trump support to start over 40% of the LGBTQ in 2024. That very interesting, but I don't think it is very surprising. I think there is a small cohort of people who in that, because it's already a small group, right? So if you think about the percentage of people who buy into the bullshit, just in general, it's on its way down. There's more and more and more and more people waking up. There's people who are about it, and then there's people who are not about the mainstream media and stuff, but they're not MAGA. They're just like, oh, this is all bullshit. So if you take that same idea and superimpose it onto a much smaller group like the LGBTQ whatever community, then it does make sense that a higher percentage of them would wake up, wake up and realize that the Democrats are not in their favor, and that it is possible to see that Donald Trump is not against you doing whatever you want to do, because there's less people, you know. But yeah, that it's surprising and interesting, but not something that's like crazy. It does actually make sense when you think about it. Jason Kruger said, PPD and Elon influenced Joe. Maybe. I think it just not necessarily about being influenced that somebody told him do this, and so okay, I'll do it. I think it's just a matter of when he said that things were very different. And now things are very different. You know what I mean? I want to vote. So when you're down to Trump or Kamala, it's not rational to vote for Kamala at this point. Agreed. Not rational. Gontek said, what has been everyone's most infuriating take on this podcast? I haven't seen much yet, but I wonder if anyone has seen anything completely ridiculous. So that is another good thing to, if you've already seen this, let's look out for the thing that the lefties are going to grab on to use as, see, we knew he was horrible. We knew he was horrible. There's going to be something. What is it going to be? And so they've been predominantly been LGBTQ issue voters, and this is indicative that they're actually voting based on a broader set of self-interest. That's good. That's very, very true. Sorry, I thought I left my front door open for some reason. But that's a very, very good point. That's a very good point in the sense that you might be part of the LGBT community, but you're not voting based on that. You just, like in the same way that I'm an atheist, but just because, they're all talking about God this, Christianity, I'm not voting based on that. Well, the left doesn't talk about God, so I'm voting with them. Very insightful. Very insightful. All right, where were we here?
Not going to get Congress. In other words, you need now to say, okay, now I'll get half of Congress that's never going to vote for you. So even if you got there, which is very hard, and I know how you feel about Bobby, and I feel the same way.
Bobby.
And he's now with us, but it doesn't. It's pure and simple. It's a two-party system,
right?
And somebody, I won't mention his name, but somebody spent $250 million trying to get the nomination as a Reform Party candidate or whatever, and they got just nowhere. You get eaten. You just get eaten. The system eats you alive.
Right.
So it was really somebody that not only was new to Washington, but was new to politics. So in the office of the presidency, over the years, all those presidents, you've had 92% were politicians and 8% were generals. General Eisenhower, General Washington, right? General George Washington, you had generals. So it's 8% no admirals, 8% generals, and 92% politicians. They're politicians and they go on. So they never had a business guy, or they never had a guy that wasn't elected to an office. They were all like Ronald Reagan he was a movie actor, but he became the governor of California for, I think, 2 terms, and then he ran. So you never had a thing like this. But in terms of me, and sometimes I'd use it as an excuse, and I don't like having excuses actually, but I'd use it as an excuse. I had to rely on people that I respected or liked, but that I didn't know that well, because I didn't know them that well. Some of those people I campaigned against, because, when you have 18 people, we had mostly politicians running in the election, running in the primaries, and they got knocked out one by one. But I got to like some of them. Some of them I didn't like at all. I don't like them now. And I'd rely on them, and I'd rely on other people. So all of a sudden, people would come in. I'd like to recommend so-and-so to be Secretary of State. And I'd have 3-4 people recommend. One thing I can tell you, everybody wants the position.
Of course.
No, but sometimes I'll hear a lot of people don't want to work with Trump because Trump is tough to work with, et cetera. Let me tell you, everybody wants to be any one of these positions. They die for it.
Of course.
Now,
Well, and yeah, because that's who they are. And despite who and what they think of you, that's who they are. Nothing matters to them about clawing as much power as they can. That's it.
they don't want to be known. I mean, there's a particular guy in New York, primarily, very big, very successful, very strong, very political, although he's not a politician. He'd give anything to be Secretary of State. But if they ask him, no, I don't think I would do it. But in the meantime, begging for it. Okay, begging. They all, everybody wants it.
But
no matter what you do, but it's very dangerous to pick somebody outside of a politician, because a politician has been basically vetted for years.
Right.
You pick groomed for years to realize these are the ropes. This is how it works. Your job is to carry water for whoever's above you, and to pretend that you're carrying water for the people in your constituency, or I mean, depending on the position. But that is the game. That is the game. So it's not just about them being vetted. It's about the establishment knowing this guy understands the game.
And they've never been vetted at all, and they're the head of a big company or something, but they've never been vetted. You know nothing about his personal life. You know nothing about where he's been. When you put him in, it's a little bit dangerous, because all of a sudden they get checked up and you hear things that you're saying, wow, this is not going to work out too well. So it's very dangerous. Picking people that are outside of politics is somewhat dangerous.
So you're kind of stuck in a position where you have to pick established people. And then the problem with established people is established people are already indoctrinated.
They're the establishment.
Into the system.
Yeah. And they're stiffs in many cases. They're survivors. I find that
survivors.
What do you mean by stiffs? When you say stiffs?
A stiff, they don't have nothing. They have nothing. Or they're smart and survivor. One little thing. So there was a congressman years before I ran.
It's just that they don't stand for anything. They are there for the power. They are not there for change. They are not there for advocacy. They are there for power.
And I was very close to him. And I needed a
Or at the very least, at the very best, rather, they're there for a job that is going to have job security and very hard to be fired without having to do a lot. That's the best case scenario.
One little thing. So there was a congressman years before I ran, and I was very close to him. And I needed a license on something, and he was very important in getting the license. But it was a little bit controversial, the license, this particular thing that was being licensed. But I was close to this guy and helped him and everything else. And I went to him. I said, I'd like to have your help. And he said, let me take a look at it. I said, oh, that's not too good, but I really hope you're going to help. And anyway, he tapped me along for a long period of time and ultimately didn't do it. And I said, you are a stiff. You could have done this thing so easy, et cetera. But it was controversial. He was in Congress for many years, like 28 years. And, there's a reason when somebody's there for 28 years, you got to be sort of smart.
Right.
You have all the scandals. And I realized he was a survivor.
Well, are you smart, or do you just know how to do it? There's a slight difference there. Knowing the ropes and knowing what you are supposed to do and not supposed to do, and you are supposed to say, you're not supposed to say. I'm not necessarily willing to call that smarts, but point taken.
But he's there for 28 years. You got to be sort of smart.
Right.
You have all the scandals. And I realized he was a survivor.
And so they never do anything controversial. They never take any chances or speak their opinion. It's outside of the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes. And yet I don't
Yeah, that just sounds like know-how. That doesn't sound like intelligence to me.
disrespect him for it.
So
I actually respected the guy more in a certain way. I said,
because he
you know,
did survive.
you know what? He's been there like for 28 years and he made it through. A lot of people don't make it through.
It's a
They
good
don't
way for
last long.
non-exceptional people to survive.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly is.
Hashtag Joe Biden.
So you're in there. You have 10,000 appointments you have to make. Like, so you're getting advice from people. And at one point in time, did you have a moment in time where you realized like these are bad choices? Like some of these people I shouldn't have had in there.
Oh yeah, I think.
Ooh, okay, so now we're getting into it. This is the biggest criticism that people who are fans of Trump have of Trump is that he has the wrong people around him. And you know, of course, we're not going to get a real answer on what he thinks about this in a hostile environment. This is why we're here. Let's do it. But really quick, guys, can I ask you a huge favor? Please share the video, take the URL, hit that share button, do whatever you can. It does not matter if you think nobody's going to click on the link. That does not matter. As long as you hit that button and tell YouTube, I want this, I want other people to see this, they will show it to more people. Please, please, please. It is so easy. It is free, and it definitely will help this party rage on. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So the one question that you'll ask me, that I think you'll ask me, that people seem to ask, and I always come up with the same answer. If the one mistake, because I had a lot of success, great economy, great everything. Everything was great. The military, we rebuilt it, biggest tax cuts in history, all this stuff. We had a great presidency. 3 Supreme Court justices. Most people get none. You know.
Yeah, right. That's that. What if that is what the lefties go on? Well, he picked 3 Supreme Court justices. Like, that's his job.
You pick them young. This way, they're there for 50 years, right?
Phrasing.
3 Supreme Court justices. Most people get none. You know, you pick them young. This way, they're there for 50 years, right? So, you know, even if a president is there for 8 years, oftentimes they never have a chance. I had 3.
Maybe I'm looking a little bit too much into this. But do you make anything of that little look directly into the camera?
Years, right? So, you know, even if
looking directly at you. Am I looking too much into this, or is this a sign of, you know, him saying, you know, maybe that he's not super comfortable talking about this because he knows that it is something that people like us don't like? I don't know.
If a president is there for 8 years, oftentimes they never have a chance. I had 3. It was sort of the luck of the draw. But I will say that it always comes back to the same answer. The biggest mistake I made was I picked some people. I picked some great people, you know, but you don't think about that. I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked. And
Neocons?
Yeah, neocons, or bad people, or just loyal people.
Just like I know a political word.
Or
people that were just
people
bad,
that were into the
people got bad advice.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're reading about him a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who was a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah,
but you know, he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me because I'd go in with a guy like a John Bolton. You know John Bolton. A friend of mine called me up. I was picking Bolton, and he's a very smart guy. His name is Phil Ruffin. He's a very rich guy from Las Vegas. He's a great card player. He doesn't play cards, but he's a great player. You know, he's just a natural. Got poker sense, right? You know, the good old poker sense.
Guamtag says that was one thing that kind of perked my ears when Trump says the question that you'll ask me, or the question I think you'll ask me, makes it seem like the questions were screened. It was a quick catch though. I barely noticed it. Yeah, I don't know. You might be. Let's hear that again. Actually,
like people that rally who some people I picked. They never had to wait. They're there for 3
in there.
Oh,
moment in time where you realize like these are bad choices. Like some of these people I shouldn't have had in there.
Oh yeah, I think so. The one question that you'll ask me, that I think you'll ask me, that people seem to.
I see what you're saying about the lefties. I see what you're saying there. I don't think so. I think that he's just, you know, he's just done this and he understands what is at stake. He understands what people care about. And so, you know, just like I was saying that, hey, this is what we're waiting for. This is what we're here for. I can't say definitively, but that's how it comes off to me, that he was just like, yep, I expected this. That's how I read it. Shout out to Jeff Pearson. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. Said this part on Bolton is hilarious. Yeah, I love it. Welcome. All right, let's where were we here?
I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked. And
Neocons?
Yeah, neocons, or bad people, or disloyal people, or
people that were just
people
bad,
that were into the
people got bad advice.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're reading about him a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who was a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around, because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me, because I'd go in with a guy like a John Bolton. John Bolton. A friend of mine called me up. I was picking Bolton. He's a very smart guy. His name is Phil Ruffin. He's a very rich guy from Las Vegas. He's a great card player. He doesn't play cards, but he's a great player. He's just a natural. Got poker sense, right? Good old poker sense.
Face.
And Phil Ruffin is a very, very wise kind of a guy, and one of the richest people around, and has had great success and understands people. So it was in that I was picking Bolton, or I picked Bolton. He called up. He said, "Don't pick him. Why? He's a bad guy." Now, he wasn't in politics at all. He's in various businesses. He said, he's a bad guy. He's just, it always works out bad with that guy.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Man, I wish you told me this 2 weeks ago. I already hired him. He's here. and
information would have been useful yesterday.
He was right, but he was good in a certain way. He's a nut job. And every time I had to deal with a country, when they saw this whack job standing behind me, they said, "Oh man, Trump's going to go to war with us." He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East. They should have never done it. I used to say it as a civilian. So I always got more
agreed
publicity than other people. And it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I can definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe.
He said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this bullshit, pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him. Yeah. When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. You see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it.
Speaking of that as well, I don't know if Joe would agree to pre-screened questions. I'm definitely not saying, oh, Joe would never do that. If I had to guess, I would say, like, no, if he wants to come have a conversation, we can have a conversation. But I'm not going to, do that. And then the fact that this is very informal, it would be difficult for me to see how they would have pre-screened questions or pre-screened topics and then just have it this free flowing. Not saying that it couldn't happen, but I just don't think so. Really quick, I did, while they were talking about, the third party candidates, and Trump was saying somebody spent like $250 million and just got nowhere. Put up a poll saying, should Americans be concerned with making sure a third party has a chance to win? And pretty evenly split, but 57% of you did say no. And maybe that's a conversation we got to get into. Because, another time, another day, but very, very interesting. Anne was saying, I don't think it's pre-screened. I think Trump's done this so many times that he just knows. Not to mention, I'm sure his team preps him prior on possible topics. Yep. Joe nailed it as always. And yeah, he is transparent, good or bad. And that's why we love him in the comparison of other politicians. So if that's what I think that the left doesn't understand, that it's not Trump in a vacuum, because Trump's not some, you're not, there was, I knew I should have saved it. I knew I should have saved it. There was a video with Charlie Kirk and Vivek. They were doing these, those college tours where they set up and people come into the mic and say whatever. And there was this one guy who was 2028 graduate. And he's saying, like, I lean more conservative, but I hate Kamala. And I really think that, Trump is not a good person and all that stuff. And I mean, the conversation eventually went to, it's not just about the figurehead. It's about all of the jobs that they are going to fill, all the people that, are going to be below them. And I don't remember where I was going with this. So maybe if I keep talking, I'll come back to it, the weave, but I don't think it's happening. But yeah, I mean, it's very clear that CNN and Donald Trump go together like spaghetti and meatballs. Imagine if CNN didn't, go full TDS. Would Trump have even won? I don't know. And said, I don't think Joe would. And if he did, he wouldn't be opposed to sharing it. Agreed. I think, he probably would have been like, hey, we have these questions and I'm only allowed to ask these questions and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think we all really, whether it's whether we like it or not, and I'm definitely enjoying it, but the utility of seeing who is this person. Podcasts have been around for so long that it's wild that this isn't a mandatory part of running any campaign from mayor on up. You should have to do some, whether it's the New York Times podcast or fucking NPR or whatever it is, but it still has to be a long form, free flowing conversation. You just cannot know who a person is without that. We can definitely see that Kamala is not a good leader, but what can you tell me about her as a person? Nothing. And so, don't you remember back in 2015 when Trump went on The View? That's how they started the conversation off, talking about that exact clip. Yep. Oh, how things change. Times they are a-changing. Quantek said the media wants Trump to win. They probably never had better numbers than when they could just bitch about him all day. Yep. But they won't let you know that.
They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you freeball. Like, you get out and you do these huge events and you're just talking and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times when you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff. But it's like you and you were making fun of Elon one time. You were doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you said to Hillary, you'd be in jail. Like that's great timing.
Yeah.
But it's like that.
Yeah, you beat it to death.
Kind of stuff was unheard of as a politician. Like no one had done that. And
that is why. That is the only reason why. It was new and it was different. At least for people like me who were never Trumpers, who had the possibility of seeing the light. I don't know about people who are just too far gone. But for those of us who like saw this and were like, hey, whoa, this is, respected institution of our politics and whatever. I was just under the impression that these people weren't as full of shit as they actually are. I knew they were full of shit, but I just didn't understand it was that bad. And so again, we have this idea that if Trump is the most real, then that has to be what supersedes everything else. Moving forward, if we have other people who are real, they will probably be better than Trump, because as good as Trump is, he's not a politician. And so if you get a politician who is authentic, if that even is possible, then that is really what we and Trump has opened the door to that.
I think
it's funny. You need at least the attitude of a comedian when you're doing this business. This is a very dangerous business. First of all, it's a very tough business. When
it's the most dangerous.
Oh, I remember this part. And it's so funny because there's a stat. I don't know. There was a meme going around about 9% of all presidents die or get shot, which is the statistically the most dangerous job, which is what Trump is going to. But he's just like, yeah.
When you're doing this business, This is a very
Yes.
dangerous business. First of all, it's a very tough business. When
It's the most dangerous
yeah,
business.
it's the most, well, for a job.
Yes.
It's-
I mean, other
this
than
is the
going to
far.
war and being a firefighter or being a cop,
Yeah.
it's the most dangerous
It's
business.
the most
because-
dangerous. For being president is the most dangerous.
Especially you. I mean,
Oh, much more
you
so.
haven't even got to the election. There's been 2 assassination attempts.
3
And they've
at least.
brushed those out of the news like it was nothing.
Yeah, they'd rather not talk about them.
Imagine if there was assassination attempts on Biden, how hard people would be attacking the right, how they would be trying to get guns taken away from people. They
Yep.
would try to ramp up gun laws. They would try to figure out some way to blame you. If there was attacks on, if Biden got shot in the ear, we would have never heard the end of it.
But I think he's in good shape because it's only consequential presidents. If you take a look at what's happened, look,
What? What?
he's in good shape because it's only consequential presidents. If you take a look,
I have no idea what that means. Does anybody have an idea? What is this?
Never heard
What
the
does this
end of
sentence
it.
mean?
but I think he's in good shape because it's only consequential presidents. If you take a look at what's happened,
Well, I don't know what that means. Jeff said, I think working for the Clintons is more dangerous. It's close, but not, well, I mean, good one. Good one. You might be right, sir.
The end of it.
but I think he's in good shape because it's only consequential presidents. If you take a look at what's happened,
Only consequential.
I'm for having countries pay us billions and billions and trillions even dollars. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. Nobody took in 10 cents, not one other president. I do things that make it, I mean, that don't necessarily make me so popular. I just do what's right. And when you do that, you know, you're more
I don't just do what's popular. I just want to do what's right. And the other politicians could not say a sentence like that because it is so far away from the truth. They couldn't even say it. I mean, they could say it, but nobody would believe it.
look at Iran. Iran, we would have never had the attack on Israel at all. Iran was broke. I told China, if you buy, you can't do business in the United States under any we're going to go cold turkey with China. Some people think that would have been a good idea anyway. But if you buy any oil, 1 barrel of oil from them, you're not doing business. I said that to many countries. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money. But I make myself, you know, I mean, I understand what I'm doing. You make yourself a target, and it's a very dangerous business. But if you just look at statistically, so I said, I sort of think, I don't know if it's right, but 1/10% for a race car driver. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous business, right?
Yeah.
The weave, baby. This is where he was started, and this is where he's coming back.
1/10% for a bull rider. I tell you, to me,
You're talking death.
these guys that ride the bulls is worse than UFC. It's worse.
Yeah.
These guys that you see these big monster bulls, and you see it in slow motion where the foot is like, you know, an inch away from the head. If it hits him, the guy's gone. But they die. You know, they die.
So 1/10% die. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 1/10% die.
Right.
And they certainly get hurt badly. Really, I mean, they can't walk after a certain period of time. But with a president, if you look at
The amount of assassination attempts.
and
Yeah.
attempts too,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the number is 9. I think it's 9%.
attempts. No, it's a very dangerous position. I never thought of that, by the way, when I did it. You don't tend to.
Did you just assume because
don't
people
think
loved you
it's-
on The Apprentice, they were going to love you as a
Well, I
president?
think it would be.
I think he did think that. And so for to ask if you heard about the women's sports statistics from the UN recently, apparently almost 900 medals have been lost to trans women. She says it's a human rights issue. Okay, dude. That's wild. Yeah, that is wild. 900. That's 900, maybe not 900 women, but 900 instances of a woman who should have gotten a medal for doing something that we all agree is worthy of that medal. And then they're just like, nah, dude's got it. Dude's got it. Whatever. Said he's saying only presidents who make big waves get killed. Okay, gotcha.
When I did it, you don't tend to.
Did you just assume because
don't
people
think
loved you
it's-
on The Apprentice, they were going to love you as a
Well, I
president?
think it would be so easy. You know, it's
Well,
very
it probably
interesting.
would have been if the media didn't attack you the way they did. If they didn't conflate you with Hitler. I mean, even today, like Kamala was talking about you and Hitler. They're going to take what you said about Robert E. Lee. Oh, Donald Trump.
he
he loves South One.
Hey,
That's
Yeah.
right. He loved.
who called that? There you go.
Right.
They love to take things out of context and
Yeah.
distort things.
Well,
But
they don't even have to take them out. They make them up entirely. Okay,
they do
make
that
'em-
too.
But it's interesting when you mentioned the. I
He
was
said
very
drink
popular.
bleach. He said drink bleach. Hey, shout out to Soil, to Soul. Welcome to the party. Very, very, very good to see ya. So this podcast was 8 years in the making. So glad it is finally happening. Yes, indeed. And we are here for the celebration. Welcome. Let's dive right back in here.
And all those people love me. I mean, some of these women, they're so stupid. And Joy, she would, every time she'd see me, I'd be in the theater or something, and she's, you have to be on the show again. Come on, let's go.
She loved you.
To love me.
That episode where,
by the way,
we should watch that episode just to see what we're talking about. Like,
should we risk it? Let's risk it. Risk it for the biscuit. All right. The View, Trump, 2015. We got it.
And I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
And you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
Okay, here we go.
She was encouraging you
last
to be
week.
But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please, let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
My friend. Watch this. Just watch this. This is nuts. We're in an alternative universe. Okay, because this is not that long ago.
Go standing O.
Bro, watch this. Just watch how this goes. Watch this.
Oh.
So she's a Republican. That's easy.
Yep.
But everybody else.
The Joy can't wait to get a hug in.
Yeah, everyone's hugging. Look at this. Look at this. Kisses,
Wow.
hugs, kisses to Whoopi. Everybody hugs and kisses. Even Joy Behar. Hugs
Even
and
Joy
kisses.
Behar hugs and kisses.
See? Now watch this.
So I'm going to take you at your word that you have not decided yet when you're going to run, but you're thinking about it, and you've expressed some of your views, which are controversial, and in many ways, but not to her. Well, not to her. Okay, you're Republican. So, let's say
She looks. I kind of feel like she just looks like that. I think they were. At that time,
let's say that you do decide in.
At that time, I don't think she had any issue with him as was public. I think she just looks like that. Yeah, right. Like I think that's just what she looks like.
Right. And your ideas resonate so much. On the other hand, we saw Newt Gingrich apologizing for his marriages and divorces. You've had 3 marriages, 2 sort of uncomfortable divorces. Do you think that
not really. They were very comfortable.
do you think
Getting laughs right away.
that would bother anybody?
I think the country is doing so badly. They want somebody that's going to help it. I think the country is never been in a position like it is right now.
And I mean, you get it. They had a very warm welcome for Donnie J before all of this.
Being ripped off by.
She loved you.
To love me.
That episode where,
By the way,
people
Whoopi.
should watch that episode just to see what we're talking about. Like
We did, Joe. Okay, we did. Thank you.
I said, we don't want to get a copyright strike, so we're not going to put it up. But
It's okay.
if you watch the episode, it's bananas. It's like an alternative universe, and it's only.
It's funny because the way that I was so comfortable listening to that is because Joe was talking over it so much. If they just played his own clip like that, then they'd be fine.
But Whoopi
9
loved
years
me.
ago.
Whoopi loved
Loved
me.
you. Gives you a hug and a kiss.
And how
There you
about
go.
that other one? The
There
new
you go.
one on there, the one from my administration. She writes me a letter. You're the greatest president. She leaves. She worked as an assistant press secretary. I hardly knew her, but she leaves and she writes me this gorgeous letter. What's her name? She was, I don't even know. Anyway, she was in the administration. She's on now currently. Sits on the far right hand side, whatever the hell her name is, and she writes a letter, the most beautiful letter. She's quoted in the paper. He's a consequential. He was the greatest president. Blah blah blah. Then all of a sudden she goes on the View. She started hitting the hell out of me. Because they won't hire unless I've had many people go on CNN and they call and said, I don't know what to do. They want to pay me a lot, but I have to be negative on you. I said, be negative. That's okay. There are guys on like CNN.
That's him knowing the game. Look, look, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not happy about the fact that this is what your position that you're in, but hey, it is what it is.
They won't hire them. Sean Duffy is a congressman, and he retired. He got a good job with CNN, but he was only positive about Trump. So they kept him, but they would never put him on. I mean, I respect what he did. He could have gone, negative. I tell people, go negative. Let my friends make the money.
Well,
it's just so crooked. The press is so crooked.
It's crooked, but it's also they're diminishing themselves. They're killing all their credibility, and it's opening up the credibility to new media. It's opening up the credibility to independent media. All these.
The worst I've ever seen, though, and I've seen the worst. I mean, I've been a part of it. I've seen the worst. Kamala goes on 60 Minutes, gave an answer that a child wouldn't give. It was so bad.
Oh my God. Have you guys seen that? Put a one in the chat if you've not seen the difference between the two answers. And again, guys, if you're going to be a huge favor and share the video, that really, really, really does help.
And 60 Minutes took the answer out. They took the whole, and they put another answer in.
They edited it deceptively.
Which didn't make sense either, but it was
King,
better.
how did you miss this?
Well, it wasn't editing. It was fraud.
It was,
All right, let's see. 60 Minutes. Edits Kamala. I think this should be. So this was the.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Y'all ready for this?
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
That's called a lie. That's called a lie. Well, you shouldn't do that. I'm not a political channel. There's nothing else going on, which is why I'm covering this stuff. But don't look to me for your news. That is not a good idea. That is not a good idea. We're covering this, obviously, but yeah, you should have better. You should have more news sources than me for sure.
edited it deceptively.
Which didn't make sense either, but it was better. They took
yeah, right. Yeah, right.
It was
I didn't even think of that. Like,
Said Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
that doesn't make sense either. Why even bother? Why even bother? So the Soul said, I know most of us here are into politics more than average, to say the least. But the bias is so blatant and in our faces these days. I don't understand how the average person doesn't see it. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it really is. It really is a matter of people either not caring or not understanding how important it is to care. Some people will see that, like, oh yeah, this matters, and I just don't care. And some people don't understand that this is important, that I should care about this. And that is why, like, that is what I try to do on this channel, is to show the value of being into this stuff, show the value of paying attention, showing the difference between little things about your life, how it could be better if you vote this way or if you support these ideas. That is a way that you get people into this stuff. King said, anything outside this channel isn't happening or real. Fair enough. Glumzak, did you hear about how they caught that change for Kamala's interview? Apparently, one of the advertisements had the original answer, but this show, obviously, it switched it. Yeah, that's what they're talking about right now. They had it for the trailer, and then they switched it on the thing.
But it seems that
goddamn
answer in.
They edited it deceptively.
Which didn't make sense either, but it was better. They took it wasn't editing. It was fraud. This was not editing. Editing is where I'll give an answer and they'll take a couple of words and change them around, or they might even take a sentence or two off, which is very bad. But it's sort of bad. I'd give an answer, which was a very good answer. I always talk about, I like to give long the weave. I like to
the
weave. But when you do the weaves, and you have to be very smart to do weaves. When you do the weave, look at this, just in this one thing. We're talking about little pieces all over here, but it always ends up, it comes back home.
Yeah.
For the right people. For the wrong people, it doesn't come back home and they end up in the wilderness, right?
In the wilderness. Absolutely. And also, yeah, they do see it and they don't see it. Some know and are locked into TDS, and that's irrelevant. And others are so isolated in media sources they are not exposed to the truth. It's a sad state of reality, but you are it is very easy when we make politics pop culture. It's very easy to feel as Dunning-Kruger effect. It's very easy to feel like you know what's going on because there's a guy on TikTok who said this, there's a guy on YouTube who said that, there's this guy on Twitter who said that, and because it's all over, you feel like you know things, but that's just because it's what everybody's talking about. It's not that everybody who's talking about it knows what they're talking about it. They're just talking about it.
But they can take my answer, and you know what? They may take a little piece of it out or something, and they use the term, yes, we wanted to save time. Well, it's not, but I've never heard. I think it's the biggest scandal in broadcast history, what happened to CBS. So you have CBS 60 Minutes. That's a news program. It's not an entertainment program. It's under their news. It's the head of their news thing. She gives an answer that shows that she's essentially incompetent. Stupid. And they took the answer. Could you imagine them doing that for
We can
me?
show it if you want people to see it. Can
Go
we show
ahead.
it? No,
Sure.
We get in trouble. We'll get copyright strike. Okay.
Listen,
anyone
I'll
can find
indemnify
it,
you.
but it's drastic. But what was interesting?
And I mean, that's CBS. You're not going to get claimed for CBS, but I do understand them being like, hey, let's play it super safe because they will look for any reason to take this down. And Joe's making a lot of money on this. And I mean, it's just big.
Was the other full version was available initially. It was like a preview.
Somebody made a big mistake.
Somebody put that preview out
Some
there.
kid put the preview out.
Exactly.
And then the bosses did this or that. And then all of a sudden they said, we got a problem.
Exactly. And then
they got caught by mistake.
Well,
but don't you think that's a big, to me, and don't forget, this is election interference and fraud. And it's 60 Minutes. It's their news division. So it's a
big deal.
They give those licenses out, Joe, for free.
Kind of a big deal.
They should pay a fortune. They're worth a fortune. They give them out for free because they're using the public airwaves.
Mm-hmm.
With cable, you don't have that. Cable's different. But, it's just a different deal. But with the networks, they give those.
Is this his way of being like, I swear you'll be good with copyright. If not, I know people.
They're worth billions of
Show
dollars.
that dumb
They give
bitch.
them out free, but you have to be honest and all. That was bad. I think that David Muir and that woman that was aside, I never even heard of her, but they kept interrupting me. It was like, I said, how many people am I debating here? I got this one and I got you two.
Yep.
But he went after me 11 different times.
And again, people are starting to see that. People are starting to be able to see through the fog of TDS. People are starting to realize the reality of their life, the prices of everything going up, wars and all that stuff. That is seeming to be enough for some people, hopefully enough people, to break through the TDS. And maybe they hate him. But they can see that he is the better choice. I'm going to try and find that TikTok because it's so poignant the way that it was Charlie and Vivek, and the way that the question was asked. It was just perfect. I'm going to see if I can.
It's interesting. I always thought he was a nice guy, but he's just like the rest of them,
Well, that's his job, unfortunately, and I'm sure
not when they're
what they
wrong.
want. You're right. Well, the problem was they fact-checked you, and they didn't fact-check her. And
Not
one of the
at
most
all.
egregious examples of that was when she said that there are no troops right now deployed in war zones.
Yeah.
There's a very famous viral video that went online of troops in a war zone saying, "Well, what the fuck are we then?"
We saw that one. That one I should have saved here. Okay. Troops. Let's see if I got that. Let's see if I got that one. No. God damn it. I don't know where it is, but yeah, it's just during the debate when she's like, "There's no active troops anywhere," and then the phone just turns around. It's like, "Well, what the fuck are we?"
Because there's thousands of them. Dan Crenshaw, the congressman, posted on his Instagram all of the various examples of troops that are deployed, thousands and thousands of troops that are currently deployed.
Stupidly deployed.
But the point is, if this is going to be an actual real debate and not a propaganda exercise, if it's going to be a real debate, you have to fact check everybody.
So
Like if someone says maybe she
to.
thought there was no,
Right.
which is also a problem. So it's one of two things. It's either it was not true, it was a lie on purpose, which is terrible, or it was the opposite. It was ignorance, which is also terrible.
I think I
Well,
found
Joe,
it.
when I said crime is soaring, he said, no, crime has gone down. I said, where did you hear that one? Crime has gone down. I mean, I'm debating with this guy, but I've had that.
Well, there was amended FBI statistics that came out after that
Yeah.
showed that crime had gone up substantially.
And by the way, the statistics were a fraud because when they put out the statistics, they didn't include some of the worst places. They didn't include some of the worst cities, some of the most deadly places. But
And
when the
there's
real
also a
numbers came
problem-
out, I turned out to be right. But I have
Of course, he's always right. Yeah. So they said Hitler so many times, people are starting to realize that it's lost its meaning, like being called racist for a decade. Indeed. So I did find this thing that I was looking for. Let me just get rid of that and that and that. No, back. Do the thing. There we go. Okay. Boom, 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 and then put it here. Then we'll click on it here. I hope this is the right one.
Disagreements most welcome. Yes.
Okay, so I want to start off by saying, Vivek, I really support you. I love you. I would vote.
I love you. All right, volume is a little bit quiet on this one, but this is what I was talking about why there are people who may not like Trump, and it's starting to not matter as much.
I would vote for you if you were running right now. Thank you, man. I would say I lean Republican, but what I disagree with is just your endorsement of Trump. I don't support Trump or Kamala. I'm undecided on who I'm going to vote for. So I just really dislike Trump just generally, and just because of his character. So I would like to ask you.
And so a lot of people do feel that way about Trump, even if policy-wise they agree with him.
Let me just ask you to say more. Why?
Just because, his rhetoric, just the way he talks. How he talks about women, how he talks just about a lot of other groups. I do find his policy that I agree with almost all of his policy, but I can't morally, for myself, vote for Trump or Kamala. So why should I vote for Trump?
And again, a very, very common thing of he seems like he's already been a little bit more conservative minded to begin with. But again, a lot of people who are maybe just not really that political, and they've just been listening to a lot of other people, and it's only taken until now to realize, oh, Orange Man isn't just evil.
So you should vote for Trump because he can make your life better. Okay. That's the bottom line. You're not voting for a priest. You're not voting for a pastor. You're not voting for who's going to be your father or your child.
And don't I say the same things? I'm not voting for a friend. I'm not voting for somebody to take Morty over the weekend. I'm voting for a leader.
You're voting for who's actually going to be your president. You got a controlled experiment here. You rarely get this in American history. It's only happened once before when Grover Cleveland was elected for president the second time. You got 4 years under Donald Trump, stayed out of World War III, stayed out of conflicts with North Korea, Iran, Russia, conflict-free world stage. It's your generation that bears the war of fighting the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's going to be the next version of that. It's your generation. That backpack isn't going to be filled with books. It's going to be filled with something else, fighting somebody else's war if we go to World War III. Donald Trump kept us out of it. Our economy was growing, inflation was down, wages were up, and we didn't have mass illegal migration in this country. Compare that to 4 years of Biden, and it really has been Kamala Harris with Biden. Open borders, mass illegal migration of a scale we haven't seen in this country. Wages have not gone up, while inflation costs actually have gone up, and we're closer to World War III than we've ever been in my lifetime. So I would say that I don't agree with 100% of what Donald Trump says. I don't agree with 100% of what Charlie Kirk says. You don't agree with 100% of what I say. No two people agree with 100% of what they say. You don't have to agree with 100% of what Donald Trump says to vote for him. You just have to know that he's going to be the guy who's going to make your life better. And you says, hit 28. Yeah. You graduate in 28?
Yeah.
By the time you graduate in 2028, you will be more likely to have a high-paying, stable job if Donald Trump is U.S. president for the next 4 years while you're here at Pitt than if Kamala Harris is in that job. That's why you should vote for him.
Let me add one thing, and then I'll ask you a question. You're not voting for Trump or Kamala. You are voting for 5,000 people that will run the government. The question is, do you think more people like Vivek running the government or more people like Tony Fauci running the government is a better direction? Let me also ask you, outside of rhetoric, 20 years from now, what matters more? The wars that a president prevents or the things that a president says while he's president?
Yeah, that's true. Also, speaking of 28, are you going to run in 2028?
We'll talk when you graduate. All right.
There you go. There you go. So I will drop the link here to that. That is a great way to just show people, who may not be decided on these things, who may feel like, exactly like that kid where, policy-wise, you're there, but it's just the character that, unfortunately, things are bad enough that just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. As long as he's not out like literally murdering people, then it just doesn't matter.
Some of the worst cities, some of the most deadly places. But when the real numbers came out, I turned out to be right. But I haven't.
You turned out to be right. But then there's another problem. Unreported crime is way up because people have lost. Look, the morale that the police department has in a lot of these cities where they've done this defund the police bullshit.
Right.
The morale of these
It
poor
is-
cops, it's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest idea
So
of all
bad,
time.
so
But
bad.
what they've done is they
And again, let me just put it out there. I am no big fan of the police as an institution. I'm a big fan of law and order, but you know, I mean, cops, but we still need them.
they've made these cops feel terrible. They're like good cops. I think cops are just like everybody else. Most of them are great. It's like everybody else. But if you run into one carpenter and he does a shitty job in your house,
Right.
you say carpenters fucking suck, but they don't suck.
Again, I mean, I've had way more bad experiences with cops than I should have. But again, different story for a different day.
Most of them are great, and
Police
that's the
have
key
been-
to with cops. But the point is,
Yeah.
like, they did all of these things in this very foolish way,
Right.
and these cops are suffering the consequences of it. And so, subsequently, what happens is a lot of crime is unreported. A lot of crime, like you call the cops, they're too busy, they can't even get to you. Oh, your house got broken into. Sorry, you know, it doesn't even make a report. There's a lot of people that they just give up.
It's so sad what's happened. And I'll tell you what, I go to police funerals, and we went to one in Long Island. I visited the family in Long Island, a very big deal. It's so dangerous. People don't realize the car, dark windows, pull over. He's a gentleman. Please pull over. Door opens. Guy comes out firing. Even if they were allowed to pull out their gun, which they're not, they can't, pull
Do
out
it in
the gun.
time. Yeah,
They still wouldn't have time.
it's every cop's worst nightmare.
They opened the door, and he was killed, and his partner was hurt. He was killed, and you don't even have an eighth of a second to think. And it is such a dangerous job. That in particular, think of it. You go up to a car, you don't know who's sitting there with a gun, and if they have a gun, you really don't have a chance. You're not allowed to have your gun out, by the way. They have very strict rules. So number one, but even if you could have your gun out, the door opens and bullets start firing out. And
Bam. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, and I think that it's wild that as much as you can hold the position of oh fuck the police, that like not realizing the reality of the situation, and there are a lot of cops who just want to enforce the law. Silly. So the Soul said if it takes 6 years of schooling to interpret the law, it should take more than 6 weeks of training to enforce the law. I think that's a major issue with our current law enforcement system. I agree. I mean, I don't necessarily think that you should need to be a lawyer in order to be a cop. I don't think it doesn't make sense that we would have that much restriction on that, because nobody ever said cops are the smartest bunch, right? And I don't think you need to be just a beat level cop, but you do have to understand what you can and can't do according to the Constitution and the local laws. So there's definitely a balance there. And unfortunately for everybody, I think the answer is more money. Some things cost money. Some things, the answer is throwing money at it. Now, I'm not just saying cut a check to fucking every local police department, but I'm saying, the training, all that stuff, that takes money, that takes time, that takes people to train and to do the training, all that kind of stuff. Completely agreed.
But even if you could have your gun out, the door opens and bullets start firing out, and especially where they have the dark windows, where they have the darkened windows, it is such a dangerous profession. And it's very hard to get cops now because they're not given any backup.
Money, please. Yeah, come on. It's been a minute. Marty's getting hungry over here. What's good?
And you're right. You can, they have like an eighth of a second to make a decision that's going to change their life. If they make the wrong decision, they're going to end up on the front page of every newspaper in the country, and they're going to lose their house and their pension and their job, and their wife is going to be gone, and everything's going to be gone.
And here's another thing that people don't talk about. How many of them have PTSD? Probably most of them.
Yeah,
these guys are seeing people shot all the time.
Yep.
I've talked to a ton of cops about it, and a lot of cops commit suicide. A lot of cops are deeply depressed. But
we have to give them back their dignity. We just have to give them back. You said it so good. You never hear anybody say that. You're never going to have it perfect. You're going to have a bad apple.
In everything, in every profession.
But every time this.
Hey, shout out to King Nirvana. Thank you. Money, please. Thank you very, very much. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. Thank you very, very much, sir. Very much appreciated. Guante said Judge Dredd style, a police force that's trained to also be judges. The decision in the moment, and if need be, the executioner as well. Yeah, I don't know about that last part, but it definitely seems like, you know, I just put up a poll on my community tab about using so these are the we finished those, and I left the bacon ones out. So he is on the good stuff, the extra good stuff, the freeze-dried beef liver, and that's what I use for work. So he's getting the good stuff because I left the bag out, and he ate everything else. So usually I give him just some bullshit, but he's getting healthy stuff. But yeah, I just put a poll about using ChatGPT, and I was like, have you downloaded ChatGPT yet? Or are you, I don't know, I was being snarky about it. And the idea that, like, I mean, someone was like, well, I follow the Holy Spirit. ChatGPT can't help me. Oh, like, all right, dude. And then other people had more legitimate things about, like, oh, I don't like how they, they run their things and privacy and this and that and whatever. But the point of that was, like, these large language models, AI, whatever, that's going to be a very central part of the way that we understand things and we learn things. I don't see why there shouldn't be a way to integrate, you know, ChatGPT into into situations like that, where if a cop is, you know, okay, well, this person did this and that person that, what based on these laws, what can I do? Maybe not ChatGPT as it exists now, but I'm saying, you know, future developments, why can't that be there? And you know, we say it takes 6 years to be able to interpret the law, but if the fact of the matter is that we don't need them to memorize it because they can pull it up like that, that's going to work out better for everybody. That's going to work out better for everybody. No bullshit for well, I mean, hey, I get what I get. This shit ain't cheap. All right, this shit ain't cheap.
Anybody say that you're never going to have it perfect. You're going to have a bad apple
in everything, in every profession.
But every time there's a bad apple, that gets massive publicity, and it taints everybody else.
But it's also this very irresponsible thing where people say defund the police, get rid of the police. You know, even Kamala Harris was a part of that. That it's a very stupid way to look at it. What you should do is fund the police.
Defund me. Oh, what? You remember that I was a cop? No, forget about that.
You should have better training. You should have cops that feel more appreciated. You should have something that helps mitigate this PTSD that all of them suffer through.
Right. She was a big part of defund the police. That was a big thing for her. Defund the police. Always defund the police.
Well, it's a political idea,
but
right?
Anybody with that political thought, I don't think should be running for president. And I think people are getting wise to it.
People are getting wise to it. And again, I would like to remind you guys, we are now 38 minutes into this conversation. We are 1/6 of the way through this conversation. And he hasn't fumbled. He hasn't, he's just talking. He's just talking. And again, that should not be an accomplishment for somebody who is running for president of the United States of America. Hey, he talked for 30 minutes straight. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at.
You know, we're doing pretty well. Now, I don't know, maybe in a week from now, say, sorry about that, I was wrong, but we're leading everything. And I think we're going to have a very good election. But I tell people, because people are starting to get to know her. But she was defund the police. She was all these transgender operations. You know, if you wanted a sex change and you were in detention and you demanded a sex change, they would give you a sex change.
Well, what was the weird, and I think Joe's about to bring it up, but what was the thing that they were trying to say where she wasn't offering sex changes for immigrants? Like, that was a real thing. I've heard people be like, "Oh my God, do you think that's real?" Like, she said it, not me. I'm just listening to what this bitch is saying. Hey, shout out to Soil with a $5 super chat. Said Morty demands the best. I mean, he'll eat anything, but he does love the best. Indeed. Thank you. Come on, man. Move your neck. You lazy bastard. Lazy bastard. Won't even move his neck forward to get his treats. But thank you. And of course, that makes you the new co-sponsor of the stream. Very, very, very much appreciated. Thank you so very, very much.
So if you wanted a sex change and you were in detention and you demanded a sex change, they would give you a sex change.
Well, the wildest one is this idea of giving free sex change to illegal immigrants.
That's right.
Yeah, they were trying to say that that's a lie. Like, no, it wasn't.
In detention.
That is the wildest thing.
But she was,
is that the biggest problem you have?
Yeah.
You just walked here from Guatemala. You need to become a girl.
But she was in favor of it.
Yes.
So think of it. She changed 15 policies. In fact, I'm going to send her a MAGA cap.
She stole your idea about no tax for tips.
I came up with this idea that honestly nobody ever heard of. And now,
shout out again to our sponsors and all of the donations. Very, very, very much appreciated. Excuse me. Guamsek said ChatGPT for police reminds me of the police from the movie Demolition Man. Officer pulls out a tablet to know what to say to Wesley. Skipped when he's being a complete menace. Of course, it didn't work. Well, I mean, I don't know. I can't come up with all the ideas. I'm just saying there's no reason why that type of information shouldn't be readily available. All right. So the Soul said our taxes are already paying for gender surgery in the military. It's crazy. Well, it's healthcare. It's healthcare. Is it though?
Well, it took her 2 months, but you know what? All of a sudden,
it caught fire,
and she just put it into a little speech.
Yeah,
well,
it became
but
popular.
I think we still.
Just like, check this out. No tax on tips.
Have that issue. I think that issue is a good one for us. But no, we have a lot of good issues. You know, we had the other day.
No, I'm not messing with movies.
Look at how simple some of these things are. We're trying to get cars built in the United States. Detroit has been really tough. It's been a disaster. They have a huge factory, a huge car auto plant being built by China in Mexico, make cars, sell them in the United States, put everybody out of business. Right, here we go again. I said, if that plant is there when I'm president, I will put 100 or 200% tariffs on every car. They'll be unsaleable in the United States. And they just announced they're not going to build the plant because they.
Yeah, but Trump, don't you understand that is going to be passed on to the consumer, bro? You don't even know what tariffs are, dude. Like, bro, that's just going to raise the price. No shit. That is the purpose. You raise the price so that people buy American-made shit. That's how it works. And the irony of people being like, Trump doesn't even know what a tariff is. Doesn't even know what that means. Do you know what that means?
I think I'm going to win. Think of it. They're not going to build the plant. This was the biggest plant in the world. It would have more than all of Michigan makes. That's how big. You know, this is what we're getting to. And I said, if that plan goes up, I want them to understand if I win, I'm going to tax those cars at the rate of 100 or 200% a piece so that you won't be able to sell them in the United States. They just announced they're not going to build the plant.
Yeah, I read that.
I did a big favor for our country by doing that.
Yep. And that's what I'll say. So the Soul is saying it would be absolutely amazing if Trump actually succeeded in doing tariffs so well, he could get rid of all income tax. Now, do I necessarily think that is probable? Not necessarily. Do I think it's impossible? I don't know enough to say either way, but I definitely am willing to listen to his plan, even if it's a concept of a plan.
And I'm not even there yet. To me, the most beautiful word, and I've said this for the last couple of weeks, in the dictionary today, and is the word tariff. It's more beautiful than love. It's more beautiful than anything. It's the most beautiful word. This country can become.
That is such a Trump statement. That is such a Trump statement. I look up the word tariff in the dictionary. Even more beautiful than love. We love love. But tariffs, oh, beautiful tariffs, the best tariffs.
Rich with the proper use of tariffs. It'll
Did
keep
you just
companies.
float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were we serious about that?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Because ready? Our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, they, believe me, they control our politicians. If you
This is another thing that I didn't really understand, because there's so much propaganda that America is the number one, the superpower of the world. Yet some little country like Israel, some fucking BB motherfucker can be openly mocking how he is taking advantage of the American government and all the money that we're sending them. Like, come on. Yeah, this is why they hate him. This is why they hate him. And there are people who can see through the establishment bullshit, and there are people who cannot. It is just that simple. If you see through it, then everything he's saying makes sense. If you can't see through it, then I understand why you hate this man. I understand it. Because I'm not retarded. So even though I don't have the position that you have, I'm able to put myself in your shoes. Those people are unfortunately not able to do the reverse. Whatever said it will be nice when they reinstate Remain in Mexico. Police. I just saw another TikTok, and it's just a TikTok. I don't know what it is, just some chick talking to her phone. But she did say that in my home state of New Jersey, all these Venezuelan gangs are coming. So she's like, you know, they said they were lying about Aurora, Colorado. They were lying about wherever else it was. But supposedly, according to this random chick online, they're coming to my hometown. I don't live there anymore, but we will see. And trust me, I'm going to be looking out for gangs, Venezuelan gangs in New Jersey. So the Soul said, even a concept of a plan is better than listening to Kamala talk about her opportunity economy bullshit. That makes no sense and can only be accomplished with even higher taxes. Sad. Whatever, so we should openly be at odds on a federal level with Mexico about our southern border with them. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know if you guys if you guys saw Line in the Sand. I covered the James O'Keefe thing, his documentary where he was at the border. He was talking to the border agents. He was talking to people crossing. He was in these tent cities. He was in all of that stuff. We did it in 2 parts. We covered the whole thing. So definitely go check that out. All right, let's dive back in.
America, we don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, they, believe me, they control our politicians. If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make then and now, but we had a commission meeting in the I think it was 1887. Think of this problem. We were so rich. We had so much money. We didn't know what to do. So they set up a blue ribbon commission on tariffs. And the sole purpose is what to do with all the money we had. We were so rich because we were
good problems to have,
taxing other people for coming in and taking our jobs. And China does it. That's what China did. If you want to open a factory and sell cars, if you build a factory here or have a factory, they don't take our cars. They wouldn't take our cars. But if you build a plant in China, you can do that. Elon did that. By the way, Elon is great. That guy is such a great guy. I think you're a fan of Elon.
Him. He is. Sometimes the episodes of Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience, sometimes the episodes are just Joe just talking to himself and just using the other person as like bouncing the same stuff that he likes to talk about off the other person. The fact that this is different. We haven't heard much from Joe at all. And again, if this was Kamala, if this was Joe Biden, do you have any illusions that it would be anywhere close to this interesting, this fluid, this conversational?
No. Come on, man. From a different planet. He's the greatest guy. That rocket coming in.
Yeah.
I told the story once or twice. So you may have heard it because these speeches have been good. Did you see the one last night?
Yeah, I did.
29,000 people. That was and the one the night before was the same thing. We are rocking and rolling. But Elon, and I'm talking to this very important guy. I said, wait a minute, I'm looking at something. The television's unmuted, right? And I see this rocket. It's all brown from the heat.
Right.
10,000 degrees pouring down at thousands of miles an hour. And I see this thing, it's like a 20-story building.
And it catches
And I say to this guy, who's an important guy, wait a minute. Let me just put you down. Hold it. I got to see this. And I see this, and it's going to crash. I said, it's going to crash into the gantry. They call it a gantry.
You know what? I actually haven't seen this. I actually have not seen this. What?
Oh, man, that's going to be a disaster because it's starting to get very close. And then all of a sudden you see the flames in the bottom, and it boom. And then you see the two arms grab it.
Crazy.
And I forgot the guy. I had him on the phone. I forgot. No, I said, no, I called Elon. I said, was that you? He said, that was me. And I said, who else can do that? He said, nobody. Russia can't do it. The United States, nobody can do it. I set up Space Force. That was me. And that's the first time in 82 years that we opened.
Hold on. I just because I have not seen this. Now to space, and then they caught it.
13 of those Raptor engines in this view is
That's just going fast.
You can see how fast this vehicle is moving on the left hand. What?
Yo, what?
We're now down to 3 Raptor engines. You can see those trucks. No fucking way!
That's fucking epic. Remember when everyone was making fun of him for the Space Force? Remember that? I do, because I was one of them.
States, nobody can do it. I set up Space Force. That was me. And that's the first time in 82 years that we opened another branch since the Air Force. And that's
Space Force. What does this guy think he's doing? Stupid.
It's going to be one of our most important things. But think of what Elon does. And he did one other thing that I never heard of it. It's
Nah, that's not. It's the copyright stuff. Anything like Quantek's trying to have a scene from Demolition Man, that will get claimed. But that there's videos on Twitter again.
Starlink. I went down to North Carolina, Georgia, the different places. I followed it right down, and they had no communication. The poles were all knocked down. Everything. And one of the guys in North Carolina said, "Could you do me a favor? Do you know Elon Musk?" Yes.
Get yourself some Starlink, bruh.
He endorsed me. By the way, he gave me the nicest endorsement, dude. The tough. He said the country's going to.
Hey, shout out to In the Film. Welcome to the party. Sing with us live and catch whatever you missed afterwards. Stay live and keep up with us.
The failed. You should do the same thing, Joe, because you cannot be voting for Kamala. Kamala, you're not a Kamala person. I know you. I've watched you. I know him better than he is. You know what? Without speaking to you, I think I know you maybe almost as well as your wife. I have watched you for so many years. You're not a Kamala person. You're a Khabib person, but you're not a Kamala person. Nobody's going to.
You're a Khabib person, not a Kamala person. Facts. So the souls, and I'm really trying to imagine and give the benefit of the doubt that Kamala could do this, but I can't. It goes to show just how little she is in the media and in any personable way. We don't know her. Exactly. Again, can anybody tell me anything about her personality other than the fact that she doesn't like Trump and she cackles too much? No. Oh yeah, Starlink is not gonna be cheap.
A Kamala person. You're a Khabib person, but you're not a Kamala person. Nobody's going to know who Khabib is, but
Oh, they know.
He
We
was,
know.
He was not.
We
he was
know.
Not
Put a one in the chat if you do not know who Khabib is.
bad, right? That
Oh,
guy.
he was phenomenal.
But that's your kind of
Your
person.
weave is getting wide. We're
No,
getting
no,
wide with
my
this
weave.
weave.
But isn't it
I want
much
to bring it
better?
back to tariffs.
But wait one second before we finish with tariffs. They said, could you get him? We need Starlink. And I call Elon. He got it for him so fast, saved so many lives. And I said, how was it? They said, better than the wires. They couldn't put them in. They were all gone. So
I used it recently in Utah in the mountains.
Did you find it good?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's the size of a iPad. You just set it down on the ground. You get high-speed internet. It's incredible.
We're spending, just to show you, we're spending $1 trillion to get cables all over the country, right? Up to upstate areas where you have like 2 farms and they're spending millions of dollars to have
Well, talk about the
Elon can do it for
$42 billion that was wasted on this internet access program. That they didn't get anybody
They haven't
access
hooked
to
up.
internet.
It's wild. And what are they talking about that? The idea of, King saying that, Starlink is expensive. If it was more ubiquitous, then it wouldn't be. And so, if whatever they're about to talk about, if they instead put that money into Starlink and into getting that available, then it might be, we might be in a situation where nowhere and no one in the world doesn't have access to the internet if they want it. But, government. So the Soul said she was raised in a middle-class family. That's not her personality. She thinks it's acceptable to wash greens in your freaking bathtub. Lies and egregious lies as a Southerner. Yeah, I don't know who told her. Like, I'm not a Southerner, and I saw that. I'm like, is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. Your bathtub where you scrub your ass? I don't know. I don't know nothing about greens. But I'm pretty sure that's bullshit.
Haven't hooked up one person.
Not
yet.
one person. They
That's
spent
right.
$42 billion. They could have gotten Starlinks to everybody with that kind of money.
For almost nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, for a monthly charge.
And it would have been incredible.
And
And,
he-
it's
and he
high-speed
wanted to-
internet everywhere you want to go.
And he wanted to do that.
And he wanted to do it.
How about this? They built the charger stations, right?
Uh-huh.
In the Midwest. They built 8 of them.
Oh, there we go. Oh my God. He fumbled on the word Midwest. Oh no. Oh my God. We got him.
The charger stations, right?
Uh-huh.
In the Midwest. They built 8 of them. They cost $9 billion. That's like a gas pump, right?
So the Soul said galvanized tubs are a thing, and she misheard what she was told to say. Makes sense. Makes sense. And so again, let's just compare that where somebody specifically told you, okay, we use a galvanized tub, and telling her what to say, and she still fucks it up. Oh, I'm in the bathtub. Then on the other side, we have stuff that Trump did not even ever say over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And she's the one that is the accepted by the establishment.
What?
Make it make sense.
Midwest. They built 8 of them. They cost $9 billion. That's like a gas pump, right? They built 9 gas pumps, except electricity comes out. They spent $9 billion. 3 of them don't work. The whole thing. There's so much waste. I could sit here and tell you about things that there's so much waste, abuse, and fraud.
Oh, there's
Guys, one more time, I'm going to ask you a huge favor. Please hit that share button. Get this out to everywhere. Let's get the party raging. Thank you so very much.
I'm sure. I mean, I think everybody's aware of that.
Let's
now.
get back to tariffs.
When you're talking about one of the criticisms of your administration was with tax cuts and with tariffs, you increased the deficit. So what was the strategy behind that? And did you think it was going to increase the deficit by a substantial amount?
Okay. We were ready to rock. It was all, I had a bad system. We had horrible tax policy. I made it great.
So I remember this part again. This is where people are going to just assume, oh yeah, he's lying. He's just saying whatever sounds good. But it makes sense to me.
It was all, I had a bad system. We had horrible tax policy. I made it great with a much lower tax rate. So I took it from almost 40% down to 21%. Now I'm bringing it from 21 down to 15, but only if you make your product in the United States, which is great. People call me, they said, what a great idea. Nobody ever heard of that before. I don't care if they make the product in Japan. Why should I give up? So it's at 21. That at 21, in the first year, we took in much more revenue than we did at almost 40. Think of that. It inspired. Now we had other things too. We were able to get people to bring back their money. You couldn't bring back your money if you had money in Europe, like Apple. Apple had many billions of dollars outside. They couldn't bring it. There was no way to bring it back in. The bureaucracy, the documents, the whole thing, and also the tax was too high. You know, they wanted like half of it or something. Nobody's going to do that. So they leave their money in Japan and they spend their money there. That was part of what I did. The money came pouring back in. Apple took in hundreds of billions of dollars. They brought it back from overseas. They brought it in.
So how does the deficit increase because of that?
So what happened is this.
There
we
you
were
go.
ready.
So those are the questions that Kamala be like, well, I'm speaking. Okay, I'm trying to explain.
To rock and roll. And then we had the COVID thing. And we had to focus on that. And if we didn't give some businesses a hand, they would have you would have had a depression like in 1929. But we were ready to start. We would have very shortly been paying off debt. You know, we have $35 trillion in debt. And I'll never forget it. It was talking about from, the standpoint of being in office. I'm in the Oval Office and I have John McLaughlin and Fabrizio, the two very good pollsters, probably, I don't know, I would say the two best, who knows, but very good pollsters. And we're starting to think about running for a second term. And we had the greatest economy in history. Never has there been an economy like
And you
this.
attribute that to lowering taxes
a lot
and
of
tariffs.
Two things. And also I cut regulations more than anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's the biggest thing. That's the regulations, and I know that they're about to talk about it, so I'm not going to go off on it, but the regulations, the government hand in your business, that is the destruction of capitalism. That is the destruction of the free market.
And if I asked many of the businessmen, from the big companies, the guys running the big companies, I'd say, so if you had your choice, you've had it now for a long time. What's more important to you, the tax cuts, you paid less tax, or the regulation cuts? Every one of them said the regulation cuts meant more. Who would think that, right? Because you don't equate it to dollars, but it actually is more dollars.
I mean, as a libertarian, I kind of would.
We had it going, and then we just had to focus on something else. But they were sitting there, these two pollsters were sitting there, and they said, sir, if George Washington came back and Abraham Lincoln was his VP, as opposed to Waltz, how bad is he, by the way? But if Abraham Lincoln was his VP, they couldn't beat you. And I'll never forget it. The following day, they said, something's happening in China, sir. Could we meet? I said, what's happening? People are dying. And it was all around the Wuhan lab, by the way. There are pictures.
Oh, that lab. And yeah, absolutely. Overregulation destroys innovation, which is a requirement of a free civilization to prosper. 100%.
With little lines, their body bags, all around the Wuhan lab. And I always said that from the beginning, Joe. It was, they tried to say, first they said it was France and, they blamed everybody.
Right.
But then they say it was bats from a cave 2,000 miles away. So we got hit with that. And despite that, we had the best economy. And when I gave it over, the stock market was higher than it was pre-COVID. I mean, nobody could even believe it. But we saved it. And we were helping businesses. They were dying. They were dying.
It's your belief that if you had a second term, given the policies in place, the way the economy was booming, that you would have been able to pay off a lot of the debt. And that was the strategy.
If we didn't have COVID,
So this is something that I've never heard or just said in like articulated out. Somebody actually explaining that, okay, the plan was to do this, and then we would make up for it with this. I've never just heard that. And this is why we need long-form discussions with top-level politicians. Okay, listen to what he's saying here.
Yeah, they would.
So it's your belief that if you had a second term, given the policies in place, the way the economy was booming, that you would have been able to pay off a lot of the debt.
Had there not been COVID.
And that was the strategy.
If we didn't have COVID, we would have been paying off debt, and we would have had, and don't forget.
And does anybody have a reason to believe that that would not be the case? Does anybody have any reason to believe that the growth that we saw between 2016 and 2019 would not have continued through 2020, and for that matter, through whatever, even if Trump lost, through the following, through Biden's presidency, if we had not had COVID? Does anybody have any reasonable way to say, no, that is not the case?
By growth, the word growth is actually more important in a way, because you could have the same debt, but if you doubled your growth, all of a sudden you're under levered. But still, we should pay off debt. If you viewed this
What a stupid guy. What a stupid guy. This guy doesn't even know what he's talking about.
$35 trillion right now. It's a lot. But if you look at the asset value, if you look at it purely as an asset value, we have oil underground, we have water, we have mountains, the assets are so enormous. But regardless of that, we've got 35 trillion in debt. We should pay it off. And we would have started paying off debt and probably even given further tax reductions. I want to get it down to 15%. We're going to do more business. But when you get hit with a COVID, everything stops and you have to keep these businesses alive. The businesses were dying. They were just dying.
And I think given that he wins this election, that, in the future, when we look back at history, I think the fact that Trump was not able to do, the back-to-back terms, that probably did so much damage, so much long-lasting damage to this country. I don't even know necessarily how to, like, where to even start. The money printing, the businesses that were destroyed. So just go down the list. Think about if this man had, even with COVID, had gotten the second the second term. The difference and where our lives would be, where prices of everything, housing, all of that stuff. Shout out to Texas Bjorn Wrong. Welcome to the party with a $20 super chat. Thank you so very, very much. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. We can give him a double there. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much, sir. Welcome to the party. Let's dive back in here.
COVID, everything stops and you have to keep these businesses alive. The businesses were dying. They were just dying. This country was going to die.
Are there influences outside of environmental that keep people from wanting to drill for oil and frack and do those sort of things outside of the environmental concerns, which are legitimate, of course?
No,
but are there other influences that may be
political,
over accentuate or over exaggerate these environmental effects? Are people being influenced in a way where they're trying to keep us from producing American oil?
Of course they are. Shout out again to our sponsor, Texas Bjorn Wrong. Very, very, very much appreciated.
Yeah. So the environmental is the biggest tool for stopping growth, the biggest tool. The other is regulation. And if you speak to Elon, he said the regulation now to send a rocket up to anywhere, even if you do everything, it's becoming impossible. But they use environmental in order.
I genuinely wonder if it's more expensive to build the rocket or to pay all of the regulation stuffs. I genuinely wonder. It may not even be close, but the fact that I don't know, and that it seems like a reasonable question, no? Can any of you say for sure, oh no, it wouldn't be that way because of this or that? I don't think so.
To get people not to do anything. And sometimes I say, I look at some of I know the environmental stuff better because I had to build buildings in New York. I had to do environmental impact studies. And I would see some of these guys that I'd hire for a lot of money, environmentalists that would get you through the process. And they'd be up in Albany, that's the capital of New York. And they're up there trying to make it tougher for guys like me that were builders because they'd get paid more money. In other words,
just like the lawyers. Shout out to Dylan Soup. Welcome to the party, sir. Very good to see ya. Texas Run Wrong said, "Come swallow." Doesn't have an ice cube chance in Hades of winning. You are wrong, sir. Number one, she's got the deep state behind her. And number two, we have a lot of people who think this way and will use this thought to not go vote. The only way that Kamala wins, aside from, cheating, is if we get overconfident and stay home. It's totally fine to believe this, but make sure that that despite the fact that this is true, you still have to make sure you get out and vote for our man. She's got a lot of support. She's got a lot of support. It's scary. It's scary how real that is. It's scary how close this this race seems to be. I don't trust the polls at all, but I don't think it's as nearly as close as 2020, but it's not in the bag. It is not in the bag. Dylan said, I haven't seen this yet, but I saw some finger-wagging fembot on Piers Morgan try to say that Tim Pool was sexist. Unsurprisingly, she herself has a nasty personality. Yep, I saw that. And he was just like, why is this bitch fucking talking? I don't even know who she is. So the Soul said I'm in dark red Mississippi, and best believe I'm going to vote. Hell yeah. Texas said, oh, I'm voting. We need to get back to paper ballots and avoid this chicanery. Shout out to Better Call Saul. Hell yeah. This chicanery. Great word. Great word. Great word.
For guys like me that were builders, because they'd get paid more money. In other words, I had one guy, highly recommended. I was good at getting permits. I was one of the kings of. I was always very good, but the
best permits.
Environmental stuff was always horrible. They could slow a project down 10 years, 15 years. I had a project in Louisiana, built big LNG plant. It was for 14 years. It was going to cost $18 billion. One of the biggest, like the Empire State Building, laying down on its side times 4. Massive on the coast, on the Gulf Coast. And they said, sir, they're going to give it up. I said, they shouldn't give it up. What's the problem? They can't get their environmental. They had environmental permits that would fill this whole room up to the ceiling. And they said there was one mistake on one little line. They wanted to do it all over again. It's not going to happen.
Speaking of Better Call Saul. Dixie Insider. Did we say hi to you already? I don't think we did. Welcome to the party. Good to see us. And my vote doesn't really matter in New York, but I'm gonna do it anyway. That is the mentality. Because it may get canceled out, it may not matter, but the only way that you have a say is to make it harder for the people who are going to cancel you out. Make it harder for them. Don't give it to them. Don't just That's the Republican mindset that pre-Trump made so many people like just disillusioned with the Republican Party. Not like, oh well, whatever. You gotta fight. Hell yeah. So the Soul said, tremendous permits, best permits. You never seen permits like this before.
And they said there was one mistake on one little line. They wanted to do it all over again. It's not going to happen. And I got them their permit instantly. And they built the plant. It's massive.
So when you're saying that, so there's people that are making money by making it difficult.
Yeah.
Are you talking about lawyers?
No, I'm talking about environmental consultants and lawyers.
Environmental consultants profit off of dragging out the process.
Absolutely.
And how do
make
they
the
profit?
process worse.
How do they profit?
And I'd probably do the same.
Well, they probably get paid based on on the project or based on how long they are working. So if you make the impact study 6 months, you're getting paid for that 6 months. You don't got to worry about whatever else is coming down the pipe. I'm here. Yeah. Oh no, we got to check each grain of sand, and that is the problem with government bureaucracy, is that there's so much bloat that we can't look at one person and say, you need, in the private sector, we can absolutely be like, hey, it's Josh. Josh is not pulling his weight. Josh, pull your fucking weight or you're fired, and we'll hire somebody who will actually do it. Fucking government, man. Anyville said, hey, New York, your vote matters because it contributes to the popular vote. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thing about with them, to be honest with you.
As
I want to be honest with you.
How do they do that? How do they make it?
Let's say New York, they go to Albany.
He's like, I probably do the same thing. I'm not gonna be honest with you.
Off of dragging out the process.
Absolutely.
And how do
make
they
the
profit?
process worse.
How do they profit?
And I'd probably do the same thing if I were them, to be honest with you.
As
I want to be honest with you.
How do they do that? How do they make it?
Let's say New York, they go to Albany.
Okay.
And they convince people that if you have a certain type of plant on the ground that's this big and in theory valueless, that it's a rare plant, and you cannot ever even touch it. You can't go near it. You can't put a building on it. You can't do anything. Or there's a little puddle, and they call it a lake. And you have to go by the standards of a lake. I said, no, that's a puddle. Oh, you have no idea. Guys are filling little puddles. You have no idea what they do.
And so
Yeah, that is the biggest way that he can get me to turn on him. You know, I spent the last 8 years, starting off being an ever Trumper, then casting a vote for Hillary Clinton, then spending a lot of time being ashamed of that and not being sure in 2020. And now this is my opportunity to this is only my second vote ever. I've only voted once, and it's only been for Hillary. So this is my opportunity to kind of at least balance that out. But if he doesn't come through and do all of these things, you best believe I am going to be the loudest fucking one. I'm going to be the loudest fucking one. So I'm putting my faith in you, Trump. So, you know how I feel about faith to begin with. So you better come through, motherfucker.
No, that's a puddle. Oh, you have no idea. Guys are filling little puddles. You have no idea what they do.
And so,
and they use it as a way to stop you.
They use it as a way to stop you, and also as a way to generate money. I'm curious how they're generating money that way, though.
Well, they get fees.
They get fees,
massive fees,
and
you pay these guys.
People rely on them as experts because they're the people that they go to when they have to run these studies in the first place.
But some of them are just.
And this is a big, maybe not a big part, but a definitely in the same vein as. I forget exactly what the bill was, but it was about, the difference between experts making the law and politicians making the law. And there was one, again, I don't remember the exact situation, but there was one guy who was standing up and saying, no, I can't go with this, despite what the experts say. My constituents want X, Y, and Z. And someone else, obviously on the Democratic side was like, what? You're going to go against the expert because of your constituents? It's like, yeah, motherfucker, that is what we are here for. That is the only purpose that we have, is to listen to our constituents and to do what they want. So the souls that I've only voted once in 2024 Trump, I'm a recovering anarchist. It's been hard for us. I hear ya. I hear ya.
It's bad guys, and they're trying to make it more and more difficult.
And they have a lot of power.
Yeah, I think they maybe had more. They didn't have as much with me because I would get through them, and I understood it. Look, I've done so many they call it environmental impact study. I did so much to build a building. To build a building in New York is very tough. You got to deal with, think of it, financing, unions, all the municipal stuff, environmental. Of all of it, to me, the toughest thing was the environmental, because they could stop you cold with the environmental impact study stuff. And you hire a so-called expert. They say, sir, he's the one guy he can get you through the morass. It's a morass. It's horrible.
Cold.
They use it as a weapon. They use it all over the country.
Right, but there are legitimate concerns about environmental impact, correct? Look about the BP oil spill. There's a lot of things that do happen that are environmentally devastating.
And this is why this needed to happen. This is why this needed to happen.
Yeah.
And you want to mitigate that as much as possible.
Sure, of course we do.
I had, during our 4 years, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water. I view it differently. I say air and water. Remember this. It costs much more to do things environmentally clean. China doesn't do anything.
Right.
When Kerry goes to see President Xi at China, which he probably doesn't even get to see him, but they look at him, oh, yes, we will do. Oh, yes, we're going to do that. No more coal, no more coal. And then they approve 58 coal plants for the next, they build a coal plant a week. Okay.
They build a lot of coal plants.
But let me just tell you, though, so here we are cleaning and scrubbing everything, and everything's got and the air's got to be pure. But in 3.8 days, that stuff floating over China is right over the top of us.
Right.
Same thing with the oceans. They dump their garbage into the Pacific Ocean. If you take a little cork and put it there, in about a week and a half, it'll be in front of Los Angeles. We're picking up their garbage. So nobody ever talks about that. But in a way, the bigger one is even the air. It's the currents. It's an amazing thing. It's been flowing that way for 1 million years, or long before.
We share air with the whole world. Yeah.
No. If we
get the Sahara dust clouds over here.
Absolutely.
We get dust clouds in Austin from the Sahara Desert.
I actually learned that recently, and obviously it makes sense, but the actual dust, the actual grains of sand from the Sahara Desert will get caught up in the what do you call them, what the fuck are they called? The currents? No, not the currents. What the fuck do they call? But it gets caught in the air, and yeah, we will see the actual dust particles from the Sahara Desert will be over the air here. Wild.
But we get the China, they call it the China curse.
China.
We get the China curse. They're bad, and their air is dirty. When I went there, I had a great relationship with presidency. We got along very well. And they treated me better than anybody's ever been treated. Same thing with Saudi Arabia, a number of them. But
is it because you didn't, go in and because we have different perspectives on how to live that you made them seem like bad people? Perhaps diplomacy is a thing. No, not jet streams. I forget. What is the word that I'm looking for? It gets caught like it'll come to me. It'll come to me.
He laid it out. And I said, this air is good. Do you know they closed every factory 1 week before I got there from within 200 miles?
That's like what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco.
He cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up. He got rid of all the homeless.
I would love to stop here and go on a tirade about that, but it's so just in your face. Like, you fucking scumbag. You know that you could do this. And you're just not. Do they call it currents? Air current? Do they call it that? I don't know. Whatever the mechanism is, the dirt from over there comes from over here.
Miles.
That's like what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco.
He cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up. He got rid of all
Isn't
the homeless
that terrible
people.
in a way to think, he cleaned it up and then it became a pigsty.
Well, the dumbest thing is he said when your friends come by, when you have visitors, you clean up your house. Like, how about just keep your fucking house clean?
Can you imagine?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody say ever. As a
shout out to Alex on Love is Blind. If you know, you know.
Governor, as to excuse to why you finally cleaned up your homeless problem.
And the day he left,
right back to it.
It went right back.
Yeah.
But in a way, that was a bad thing that he did because he showed.
In a way?
What a disgrace.
In a way? No. It was just a bad thing. There's no, in a way. Like, it was bad all in every way.
That was. What a disgrace.
Well, this is the thing that like shows you how foolish a lot of these people that are running these cities think. A lot of these people that are running these states think.
They are stuck in a pre-internet universe. And like, maybe in 1999, that would make sense. Maybe in 2003, that would make sense. But we are in 2024. Motherfuckers, we have the internet. We remember. And if we don't remember, we can Google it. Even with the Wayback Machine getting hacked, we still got everything that we need to demonstrate. Yes, you are full of shit.
It's foolish. Like, you're insulting the intelligence of the people that live in that city that are impacted by these people just camping and needles and human feces. There's an app that you can buy. There's an app that you can get that will show you where the human feces has been documented in San Francisco. It's a poo app. And it's just everywhere. It's just bum crap everywhere.
But let me give you one.
Okay, if you had to name your own poo app, what would the name of your app be? Poo where? Where poo? Poo where? Poo poop where? Poop where? Where's the poop? Something. What would you call it? What would you call it?
One that you may not know.
Okay.
Which I think you know everything, actually. As a student of yours. but water, in Los
I think you know water. The best thing. Water is so nice.
Angeles, you can't get proper amounts of water.
Right.
And it's unbelievably expensive. And you might have a house in Beverly Hills. And they're actually thinking about rationing water. Can you believe it?
I can believe
it. I was in the farm court country with some of the congressmen. We're driving up a highway. And I say, how come all this land is so barren? It's farmland. And it looked terrible. It was just brown and bad. I said, but there's always that little corner.
Hey, look who we got. Shout out to Melted Mind Media. Welcome to the party. Long time no see. Very, very good to see you, brother. Good to see ya. Dixon Sider said a poop CPMA. What? I don't get it. I want to get it.
And it looked terrible.
Is this your name for the poop app? Facebook?
Just brown and
poop,
bad.
Poop,
I said, but there's always that little corner.
Shit-eating grin.
That's so green and beautiful. They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why do you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. More water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean.
Well, we need those tiny little fish. Wait, do we need those tiny little fish?
Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. You got to see this. We're driving up, and I had never seen it before. It's like Iowa.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
The most fertile land. Iowa's blessed with great land. Idaho for a potato, right?
Yeah.
But they're just, by the way, some land is good for potatoes, some land is good for corn. It's the craziest thing. I love the farmers. They're great. They're the greatest. And by the way, they're getting killed right now.
They are.
They're getting killed because of the stupid administration. But so I see this and I said, you got to be kidding. I said, you mean you have water? And I looked at it. It's like a valve in your sink, except it's massive. The thing's 5 times taller than your ceiling.
Did you know the center of California was a giant lake?
They have so much water.
You ever see what it looks like before they rerouted it?
They're about to show this. If you put one in the chat when they show this, if you didn't know this, I had no idea. And it again, it's just like, oh, I didn't know. Yeah, that makes sense.
Of California, like, was it 200 years ago? How long ago did they do that, Jamie? The center of California had a fucking enormous lake in the middle of California.
So they dumped it into the Pacific.
Who knows what they did? But whatever foolishness that they did led to the situation that they're in now.
Think of those dry forests that burned down all over the world. The head of Austria said,
Tulare Lake.
Yeah, before we go there, so saying big agriculture is definitely something I hope RFK can tackle like big pharma. Yeah, I think that is a necessary part of the I still hate that, but I do appreciate what it is. But I think the whole Make America Healthy Again, you have to start from agriculture. You have to start from the farms. You have to start from the source. And hopefully, and the fact that people are on board, the fact that the attitudes on health and what's in our food, all that kind of stuff is becoming a lot more relevant. And even in my own life, I was that used to be, kind of a fringe left thing to be super into, like, only organic and this, that, whatever. And mainly because it was all bullshit and it was all marketing. But what RFK brings to the table is trying to get around the marketing and actually deliver what the marketing says it's going to deliver for real. So I am right there with you. But yeah, this is the
Tachi Lake. It's a freshwater lake in the southern San Joaquin Valley, United States. Historically, Tulare Lake was one of the largest freshwater lakes west of Mississippi. Show a photo of what it looked like back then.
Yep.
That's a great system.
So that's what it looked like. Look at that image. Now, go to the one on the third from the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an enormous lake in the middle of California. Imagine that.
So like this is, if you can't see, this is the border of California here. And this whole thing was water.
Much more valuable property.
How crazy is that? But how crazy is that? What it used to look like? And human beings screwed that up.
They let it go into the Pacific, and then
I don't know what they did. What did they do? How did it go missing?
Yeah, they drained it
in 83.
1983. Oh my God.
It went dry a handful of times.
Oh, went dry a handful of times. Well, lakes do go dry, but that's a big one.
But think of it.
Big one to go
you
dry.
Could have all of the water you need. All of that land would have more water. The whole thing could be like that little patch.
Yeah.
Literally, I'd say I was with Devin Nunes, a congressman, and other congressmen. We were going up. I was visiting that because they asked me to go up and visit their territory, and I did. But I kept saying, look at this land. It's beautiful, but it's so dry. And I thought they were going through like a desert, like a drought. They said, no, we have water, but it gets dry. So I looked into it.
What is the fish?
And I got it done. I could have water for all of that land. Water for your forests. Your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dangerous.
Now, forest fires come right from them. So the Soul said even organic is a lot of bullshit and marketing, sadly, especially with the new thing they're coating some produce in called Appeal, and I'm pretty sure it is approved for organic stuff. Not cool. I don't even spend I know that unless you are spending the top dollar to get the free range, grass fed, all of the labels. If you don't get all of the labels, then it's still just factory farming. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to spend another extra however much money to still get factory farmed food. I'm just buying the cheapest shit. that I know these animals are not being treated well. And as much as I care, as much as I don't want that to be the way that it works, I'm not a farmer. I'm not a procurer of food. I'm just a fucking dude. So fix it and I will buy the shit that's better. But that's not my job. I don't have those resources. And so I would love to have healthier options, but they just simply do not exist in a realistic way. It just doesn't. It just doesn't work. Yeah. So it's a mess. If I can't get it locally, I get the cheapest stuff too. It's Bidenomics after all. Yep.
For all of that land, water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, you know, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. When a tree falls down, after 18 months, it becomes very dry. It's like, you know, like real firewood. It's bad. You know, a tree that's up, these are all things I learned the hard way, the easy way. But
yeah, he's so stupid. He doesn't know anything about anything. God.
When a tree is up, it sucks water. It's wet. I went to they had a couple of horrible forest fires.
I'm going to come.
Fires in California. And I said, you know, you got a lot of trees standing. Yes, they were healthy trees, sir. I said, with this intense heat, that you could see they were charred a little bit on the bottom, but they were going to be all right because they're soaking wet because they suck up the water, right? But when they fall, they're like, you know, it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to clean. They call maintain your forest. So I was with the head of Austria.
They don't do that unless, of course, Kamala Harris is going to keep people with exculpatory evidence in jail so that they can fight those fires. Shout out to Dix Inside Her. Thank you so very much for the $5 super chat. Said, look at what they did to the price of dog treats. You're telling me. I get a 9-pound bag of this shit, and it's like $80. Maybe not 80. I think it's like $60, but it's not cheap. It's not cheap. You are absolutely right, sir. Thank you very, very much, sir.
You know, it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to clean. They call maintain your forest. So I was with the head of Austria. He said, you know, it's a shame. I see all those forest fires in California, and all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, you know, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that are falling, that, you know, are like.
And Newsom's just like, nah.
So many things this country. By the way,
could you?
Oh, thank you, buddy. Yeah, he was touch and go there for a minute. We are going back to the vet on the 5th to see what's good. I don't even know. He might be, you know, on his last leg, but for now he is doing much better. So thank you. Look how fucking cute he is. Oh, he's hungry.
I had it all
the whole
done.
Forest, though. I don't think you could rake the whole forest.
Well, you could,
I think you can get rid of the deadfall, but raking all the leaves.
You could certainly get rid of the dead. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the real issue.
You know, environmentally, they don't want to do that. They said, you know, it's got to be nature and all this stuff. But in the meantime, this is exactly right. But you could have, so it was the Department of Commerce that needed the approvals, but Gavin Newsom had to sign them. I got it all done. Nobody could believe it. It was all done. I said, I got it. You got so much water. All you have to do is sign. And that guy didn't want to sign.
Did he not want to sign because that would be a political victory for you?
I think, no, he didn't. No, I don't think so. He used to say he's a great president and we got along. We did. We actually got along at that point. But I think somebody said.
Are we still talking about Newsom?
That you just can't continue to call him a great president. You know, they do say that. But we had it all done. He didn't sign. And then we got on to other things. And I every time I go to California, I said, you have so much water. They don't know it. I'm telling you, people living in Beverly Hills, they turn off the water. Same thing with the electric.
Is that where Bigfoot's supposed to be, in California? I thought he was further north. I thought that was like a Canadian thing. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I think that, but I feel like I think that. That's a thing, right? No, I don't know.
They want to go to all electric cars, but they have brownouts every weekend, you know.
Well, right after they made the announcement that
I meant to give the
as of 2035, you're not going to be able to buy an internal combustion engine in California.
Yeah.
Like within a month, they had some announcement asking people to not charge their Teslas because the grid couldn't handle it. Well, how are you?
I will terminate the mandate immediately. Just a mandate.
Thank you.
That will be done, I would say, in my first day, maybe 2 days, because, you know.
Let me ask you about nuclear. One of the things that when I've talked to people that have a real understanding of nuclear power, what their position is, it's probably the cleanest, safest form of electricity that we could generate, and that the fears of nuclear power are really about a few disasters, the Fukushima, 3 Mile Island. These are old systems, and they're much more capable now, and they're capable of making even better systems. But it's a difficult political issue because you think nuclear power, you think Chernobyl. That's what
I'm scared because I think about a thing that has nothing to do with the thing, but you know, word association. So no, that's how I'm going to vote.
Everybody does. They have this connection. They have the potential
or Fukushima,
disaster, Fukushima,
where you're not supposed to enter the land for 3,000 years or something.
It's I think it's worse than that. I think that area is like going to be radioactive for probably longer than you could imagine. But the point is they're better at it now,
right?
And that they could do it now, and you can generate power in a way that you don't have to worry about these. One of the most ridiculous things is electric cars being powered by coal-fired plants. It's a ridiculous thing.
So what's happening?
Yeah, that is what's happening. And people want to think they're being green. You know, but it's
well, if you look at
green. Shout out to Carl Johansson. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's an island. There's a big hairy leprechaun called Jigfoot. Not sure if you're fucking with me. Either way, I do not know what to say to that. Welcome to the party. Dixon said, just remember, nuclear power created Godzilla. I'll take the risk. I'll take the risk.
So what's happening?
Yeah, that is what's happening. And people want to think they're being green, you know, but it's...
Well, if you look at the way the battery is made, but here's the other thing. We don't have... Well, we do, actually. It's being held. You know, we have certain areas where we have great raw earth material, and we're not allowed to use it because of the environment. And we have areas in California...
Sounds like a metal band. Raw earth.
California that have incredible raw earth, and they're not allowing... And I'm going to open it up. I'm going to let them use it.
But how do you do that?
China,
how do you do that and protect the environment?
Because the environment's going to be protected. You can do it. You can make a lake out of it. Okay, we'll put back a lake. I mean, something nice about lakes. You can do things magnificently.
You just have to do it carefully and responsibly.
Absolutely, you have to do it carefully. But the problem, you know, China has all of those areas, most of those areas, and yet when they say go electric with the cars, China is going to be the one that gives us the cars. All of those guys in Detroit are going to be out of business. You're going to make your electric cars over there. We have a thing called gasoline. And we have more oil and gas under our feet than
a thing called what?
Any other nation. You know, I had in Alaska, there's a find. It's called Anwar. I got it approved. Reagan couldn't get it. Nobody could get it. I got it all done. It was amazing. They were getting ready to start drilling. The equivalent of Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest finds in the world. It was all set to go. And Biden comes in. One of his first orders were, we're not going to use it. It would have been so good for we could have supplied all of Asia with oil and gas.
What was the negative?
And you talk about money,
right?
The negative was politically they didn't think it was good for them. That's all.
That's all it was.
That's all it was. Well, how's this going to make me look? The American people? What do you mean the American people? I don't give a shit about the American people. I just care about me.
So you don't think that it's environmentally dangerous?
Taking it from way down deep in the earth, environmentally would have been fine.
So it can be done responsibly.
Absolutely. Oh, otherwise,
it protects the environment.
Well, I think windmills. Okay, so they talk about windmills. I think windmills are really disruptive. When you talk about the environment, they kill the birds. You want to see a bird cemetery? Go under a windmill someday.
He hates those goddamn windmills. He hates those windmills. Guys, if you have not already, please do hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 5K, and it would be amazing. Even if you're not somebody who subscribes to the channel, just subscribe to this one. Who cares, right? Come on. You got it. Let's do this. 5K on the way. Let's do it. Multibot Media said Fukushima was a natural disaster more than a man-made disaster. I'll take you. I actually don't know much about that, so I will take your word for it, sir. Dixon said, how are they able to manipulate secondary markets if they flood the market with product? That is above my pay grade. I have no goddamn idea. Yeah, there you go. Another band, Bird Cemetery, from the Raw Earth. I don't know. I mean, he said it can be, but I doubt it will be done safely. The nuclear stuff you're talking about, or the windmills? So the Soul said windmills are really bad. A total waste from beginning to end when adding benefit versus cost or cost-benefit analysis. A complete virtue signal. Yep.
You talk about the environment. They killed the birds. You want to see a bird cemetery? Go under a windmill someday that hasn't been cleaned out with all the bird carcasses. It's like massive amounts of
Well, they're
birds.
also a massive eyesore. I went to
they're
a ranch in
horrible.
South Texas. We had to drive past this enormous windmill farm, and it's gross. It's dystopian. You're looking in the left and the right, and all you see is these big spinning machines that aren't even that effective at generating electricity.
Yeah. And that's the other side of it is fracking, just getting the stuff that we already have, that we already know works. Just if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Look, my media said Fukushima was a tsunami. That's right. So maybe just don't build it there. Maybe just go inland a little bit. Right? You know what I mean? Yeah, I forgot about that.
Looking in the left and the right, and all you see is these big spinning machines that aren't even that effective at generating electricity.
Correct. Most expensive form of electricity is a windmill. And then they start to rust and rot.
And you have to
and then they
replace
get
them?
abandoned by the people that built them.
Well, you have to get rid of all that material too. When you replace those blades, now you have a problem because you have
Can't
to
bury 'em.
dispose. Right. You have to dispose these enormous windmills. And
I would if I had a very specific question, I would go. I don't want to derail that much, but I'm actually curious about how much weight and what exactly are we dealing with just one of these wings. Let's say something on the, or I don't know if you would call it, but one of the things that is on the windmill. Let's say it gets rusted or whatever reason needs to be replaced. How much waste are we actually talking about? Seems like a lot. Well, that worked out well, didn't it? It's almost like you can move water inland, but you can't move a plant away from a tsunami. Maybe I'm just Monday morning quarterbacking this shit, but.
By the way, they say you can't bury them. So I even question that, but I'm not going to get into it. But they say you can't bury the blades. So you have the blades, and you can't bury the blades. You can bury the blades. It's not going to matter. You can bury them. You'll find areas you can bury. But they come up. This is what I mean. They come up with this. But the environmentalist dream is windmills. Everyone, you know what happens to them? After 5 years, they start to rot. After 10 years, you have to replace them. Did you ever look at certain parts of California where they have heavy windmills and they've been abandoned? And they're all different manufacturers and all different companies. And
I haven't seen that.
It is the ugliest thing. It looks like a graveyard almost.
Pull that up, Jamie.
It's a graveyard of windmills.
It's pollution.
It's so bad.
It's
and
no
in the
more,
oceans.
It's no different than leaving garbage on the ground.
How about in New Jersey, off the coast of New Jersey, they want to build. The people are going crazy not to build them. But we have them. The whales are washing up on shore.
Right.
So in 50 years, they had one whale come ashore. Now they had like 18.
Okay, check this out. So, I just searched abandoned windmills, California. We got a lot of stuff like this. Wait, where am I? We got a lot of stuff like this, where, of course, the smallest tiny thing, just rust and ugly. And is this the same one? That's the same one. Like even here, where it looks clean, like this is just not. Come on, give me a goddamn. They always do this. They always fucking do it. And I bet you. Watch, this one's going to be tiny as well. That's the largest photo they have on all of Google. That's the best they have on all of Google. I do not believe that is the case. Anyway. Wow. All right. Yeah, I really should. It's just, I really should. It's just the fact that, I have my Android stuff and Google is just there. But once they fully block, I shouldn't say that. Well, anyway. Multiple said not in Japan. The ground is so hard, it's almost hard stone. Well, either way, clearly that was not the right move. Nixon said turbine blades can measure up to 280 feet. God damn. Yeah, give it a go, J-Mo. It does look haunted. It's just not, and the fact that that is inevitable. That's it's not like that was from mistakes being made. Like that is par for the course. That is what they are going to do. And another great point: the amount of oil used for windmills is unreal. And you may, I don't know if you're talking about the just the production of them, or in terms of keeping them operating. It just don't make no sense. Straight up virtue signal. Hey, there he is. There he is. Shout out to Funk Master General with the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so very, very much, sir. Very much appreciated. And of course, that makes you the new co-sponsor of the stream. Guys, if you were gifted a membership, make sure you take full advantage by joining the Discord community. Mino, Johnny, Alex, shout out to Alex, Theo, Var, Culture Pop, Xander Carew, Millennial Mark TV, Jason Thomas, and Eric Stanleyson. Welcome to being a disciple. Make sure, thank you, Soul of the Soul just dropped the link to the Discord, guys. It is free to join, but now that you are members, you have extra privileges and all that good stuff. So make sure you take advantage of it. Thank you so very much to Funk Master General. Very much appreciated. Let's dive back in.
Washing up on shore.
Right.
So in 50 years, they had one whale come ashore. Now they had like 18 come in the last year.
What is what is happening with the whales? I've read about this.
Well, they say that the wind drives them crazy. It's a vibration because you have those, those things at 50-story buildings, some of them.
Right, and they're
50.
super sensitive to vibrations.
They have
and
those,
sounds.
the wind is rushing, the things are blowing, it's a vibration, and it makes noise. You know what it is? I want to be a whale psychiatrist. It drives the whales freaking crazy. And something happens with them. But for whatever reason, they're getting washed up on shore. And, and yet.
Thank you again to both of our co-sponsors and every single donation and all of the members. Shout out to the disciples. And I think we got a true disciple. And of course, our God Daddy. Appreciate you guys to no end.
Something happens with them. But for whatever reason, they're getting washed up on shore, and and yet the environmentalists
conveniently ignored by the environmental
but the environmentalists, they don't talk about it.
Right.
I think there's nothing uglier. I see it in Scotland. I see it all over the world. You have this beautiful valley. It's been there for in civilization thousands of years, but millions of years, and all of a sudden you have these ugly windmills up.
Would your plan to be replace that with nuclear? What would you do?
Well, nuclear is better. I mean, I think there's a little danger in nuclear, but we had some really bad nuclear. They did one in Alabama. They did one in, I think, South Carolina. They do them wrong. They build these massive things. Then the environmentalists get in. It's a
think about the environmental impact study for something that we know is a negative environmental impact, but somehow they do all of that work and then build the negative impact. I don't get it. 60 gallons of oil for one large mill. That needs to be changed every 9 months. I've gone 9 months without changing the oil in my car. No, I don't suggest that, but So it's also, there's a lot of truth to what he is saying. Also, a lot going on with our magnetic field as a possible cause, but that's for a different podcast. Fair enough. Yeah, I was not aware that the windmills are disturbing the whales. That kind of creates a little bit of a environmentalist paradox here, right? Do we care more about the air or the whales? Save the whales.
They do them wrong. They build these massive things. Then the environmentalists get in. I don't want to go into a long story because it's too long for the show. This show is too valuable to talk about concrete, but they have hardened concrete. It's number 12 concrete. It's harder than steel. It's incredible. They put up a wall and an inspector comes along. Knows that, nope, you're a quarter of an inch. The wall might be 8 feet wide. You're a quarter of an inch too short. I'm sorry. You got to rip down the wall. Because it's got to be poured contiguously, right? You're 1/4 of an inch. I'm sorry, rip down. You can't rip it down. This stuff, you can't put a hammer through it. You can't. It's incredible. concrete technology is unbelievable. What's happened? You think of concrete.
So you think that's an example of overregulation?
Yeah,
Pointless
no. Well, you have an
overregulation.
inspector that comes along and he says, take down a $25 zillion wall. These things ended up costing $25 billion. And one of them never got opened. But here's the story. So France does it. France is largely nuclear, and they build small, little, compact plants.
Carl, you're getting dangerous. You're getting dangerous. I can't even say this out
And
loud.
if they need more, they build the same thing and they hook it up and they hook it up because they get too big and too complex and too expensive. And it is very clean. They say it's absolutely, my uncle, I had a great uncle who was a great genius, just like other members of my family, but he was a professor at MIT.
John Trump.
Years. He was the longest. When I was
Trump.
in the White House, the head of MIT, Princeton, and Harvard came down to meet me. And
if you don't know about John Trump, you need to learn about John Trump, and potentially Barron is a big part of that story. Stephen Colbert Cheese, welcome to the party, said in the second half of the 19th century, Tulare Lake was dried up by diverting its tributary rivers for agriculture, irrigation, and municipal water uses. In modern times, it is usually a dry lake with residual wetlands and marshes. The lake reappears during unusually high levels of rainfall or snowmelt, as it did in these years. Thank you, sir.
The MIT person said, I have a book on your uncle, Dr. John Trump. He was our longest serving professor. He was a great genius, sir. Do you know how? And he had, he knew everything about nuclear, from math to chemistry to nuclear. He knew it. And
there is a serious rabbit hole that you can go down about John Trump and MIT and what he studied. And there's a whole thing about time travel and how somebody in the Trump family may be a time traveler, and it's a conspiracy theory, but it's way too complex to just kind of push aside. It's again different for a different day, but wild.
And he said someday it's going to be the way to go, but the problem is it's so dangerous in terms of war. He said,
Right.
Donald, someday, this was a long time, Uncle John, Dr. John Trump, he said, someday you'll have a little satchel at your side and you'll go into a building and you'll be able to blow up New York City. I said, Uncle John, that'll never happen. He's right. He's right.
Well, that was
the
part of the
power's
problem
so
with giving nuclear power to other countries, right? Like that was the problem that happened with India and Pakistan. They got nuclear power and then they were able to weaponize it.
The biggest problem in the world today is not global warming. It's nuclear warming. And we have idiots that are negotiating for us. We have a guy that doesn't make it past 4 o'clock. And it's not because of age. I know so many guys in their late 80s and they're better than I said to one guy the other day, I think he's smarter than you were 25 years ago. I've known him a long time. He's 89 years old. He's sharp. He's great. Biden gives people a bad name because that's not an age. I think they say it because I'm 3 or 4 years younger. I think that's why they say it. They say his age. It's not his age. He's got a problem.
2 major brain surgeries.
Yeah. He did. Those are not good operations.
And did you see what he did today? He went running towards the camera and made some apology to Native Americans. And he said that's why he's headed out west. Like he's off the reservation, so to speak.
What is that? What Biden indigenous? Is that how you spell that?
It reflects the full diversity of our nation and the full diversity of Latino communities. Now, when I mean full diversity, unlike the African American community and many other communities, you're from everywhere, from Europe, from the tip of South America, all the way to our border in Mexico and in the Caribbean, and different backgrounds, different ethnicities, but all Latinos. We can build a new administration that reflects.
Okay, I guess that wasn't it. Was this it?
We can make many things. It's proof that despite the naysayers, we can make meaningful progress on dealing with gun violence. Because make no mistake, sit down, you'll hear what I have to say. You think you
Fuck Joe Biden! Fuck Joe Biden! Fuck Joe Biden!
He's just stuck. He's just stuck.
is proof.
All right, I don't know what it is, but yeah, I have not heard of this. So going in blind. What do we got here? What book? I don't know what we're talking about. So the Soul said, yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. That's there's a TikTok. There's a dude on TikTok who like has the whole thing. Again, I'm gonna try and find it and see if we can figure that out. CD skipped. Colonel said someone needs to tell Biden there's no proof black people originated exclusively in Africa. Yeah.
Despite the naysayers, we can't.
Americans, and that he said that's why he's headed out west. Like he's off the reservation, so to speak, for lack of a better term.
You know, it's interesting because during the debate, I was looking over. I'm saying, this is strange. It's just sort of like strange things were happening.
Yeah,
but
well, he couldn't keep it together. But do you think they knew he couldn't keep it together?
I think.
Do you think that they wanted that? Is that why, like historically, that debate was earlier than they've been in the past, right?
I think they wanted to get. Well, there's a lot of theories. A lot of people said, "Do the debate now, and we'll get him out."
Right.
I think that maybe could be.
Well, that is what happened.
So
it's logical.
I think they
to
also
assume
said, "Do the debate now and get it over with."
Right.
I don't think anybody thought he was going to get out. Really,
No,
I don't
it didn't
think
make any sense.
The debate got him out, but I think it's very unfair. Look, you have a bad debate. His numbers went down, but I think she's not doing very well right now, and I think she looks.
Well, I want to get to that too because it's hard to know. Like the whole poll thing is very bizarre for most people because.
Okay. Slight detour. I found it. This guy has an entire page dedicated to this stuff.
What's a coincidence that you think about a lot?
I don't know what you would consider a lot, but I've thought about this every day for the past 2 years. In 1888, a man named Ingersoll Lockwood wrote a book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, where a 10-year-old boy named Baron Trump, who has a mentor named Don, who is a rich man who lives on Fifth Avenue in New York City, he and Don travel to Russia to find a portal to a magical underground world. The third book in the series is called 1900 or The Last President, where Don runs for president, gets elected. His mentor's name is Pence. There are protests and riots in the streets because he's not a politician. He's a rich man. He fixes the economy, and they mess with the election of 1900. And when he goes to plead his case, he is silenced by the Speaker of the House. There's a lot of coincidences right there. Also, I guess it's a coincidence that Ingersoll Lockwood lived in New York City at the same time as Nikola Tesla, who was working on time travel and teleportation and all sorts of craziness. When Nikola Tesla died in 1943, the FBI gave all of his unfinished research to John Trump, Donald Trump's uncle,
The guy we were just talking about.
who is the longest tenured professor at MIT.
Bingo.
He was given, I believe, 38 trunks of information. He only gave 35 back, stating that it was all theoretical. Interesting. I guess it's also a coincidence.
We're only halfway through this video.
That IngersollLockwood.com is owned by John McAfee, who tweeted that he had 31 terabytes of information on the government. And if they ever whacked him, he had a dead man. Oh, fuck. Anyway, John McAfee said that he had 31 terabytes of information on the government that was connected to a dead man switch in his Miami penthouse. Less than 12 hours after he was found dead in his cell in France, a building in Miami just mysteriously just fell down. That's a coincidence, right? I haven't even talked about Back to the Future yet, but John Trump died in 1985, which is the same year as Back to the Future came out. In Back to the Future 3, the Doc writes a letter from 1885 to 1955 to let Marty know where he is in time. Could these books be a message to somebody from 1885 into the future? As long as we're talking about Back to the Future, in the first movie, Marty shows up at the Twin Pine Mall at exactly 1:16 a.m. You turn that upside down, that's 9/11. When he comes back from the past, it is now Lone Pine Mall. Twin Towers, and now we have the One World Trade Center. Coincidence. It's coincidence. Sure, it's nothing. And yeah, I've spent a little bit of time
There we go.
researching
There's
this
the wall.
coincidence.
There's the wall.
And I still got nothing. I don't know. Time travel, it's probably real. Like, time travel exists now. Yep.
So again, if you would like to do further research, the link to that is in the chat, and it goes deep. Even just his TikTok page goes deep. right, wait.
His numbers went down, but I think she's not doing very well right now, and I think she looks.
Well, I want to get to that too because it's hard to know. Like the whole.
So just so you guys know, we are coming up near the halfway point, and again, we are clearly not going to be able to get through this whole thing today. So we are going to break it up into 2 parts. So depending on, I mean, hey, you guys know how. Where the fuck is it? You guys know how to keep the party raging.
Not doing very well right now, and I think she looks.
Well, I want to get to that too because it's hard to know. Like the whole poll thing is very bizarre for most people because most people don't answer polls. So they read the polls. And
Were
like,
you
who's
ever
getting
called
polled? I've
from
never
a
been
poll?
polled.
I was.
Put a 1 in the chat if you have ever answered a poll. If you have ever answered a political poll like that. Wait, is this 1-5, right? Okay. Just
If I did, I'd hang up.
I was never called by a poll.
If I did, I wouldn't answer. I'm busy.
You know how polls are done. I'm going to get myself
Please.
in trouble, but so I really don't believe too much in them. So
well, nor should you. I remember election night 2020. 98%, according to the New York Times, 98% chance that Hillary was going to win.
2016 taught a lot of people about the ineffective.
Well, they were very
use of polls.
ineffective because I thought I was doing well. I'd go to a place and I'd have 30, 40,000 people. Hillary would go, they have 500 people, and they tell me I'm going to lose. I said, why am I going to lose? I had 40,000 people. She had 200 people. But, you know, I have a theory. These pollsters, they charge you a lot of money, too. You know, they charge you $500,000 to do some stupid poll, and they interview like 251 people. I don't think they interview them in many cases.
251.
Too much
You
trouble.
think it's bullshit?
I think they sit there, they make a deal, they get $500,000, and they say, Trump's leading 51-49. They announce it, and everybody says, oh. Do you understand? I don't think they, I think in a lot, look, I'm a very common sense person. I think that they probably don't always poll. Some of them probably never poll. What's the difference between 49-51 and 47.5?
Well, it's also a tiny percentage of the population. I don't think it's representative of the overall population. I just don't think
I don't
it
know
is.
of one person in my whole life that ever got called by a pollster.
Exactly. That's my point. So here's my question.
But I shouldn't say.
Yeah, exactly, Carl. Even if they really do the polls, they can weight it any way they want. It just polling and surveying is the weakest way to gather information that is statistically significant. That is the weakest way. It technically can it does give us meaningful information, but to the lowest degree of any other way of collecting information.
Yeah, because I'm doing really well in the polls.
But I think that's
so. This week I happen to believe in a verse. I only believe them if they're good. No, I like them this month, but no, I honestly believe that this is probably
that's another one that people will take out. So he only believes them when he likes them. Joke.
Probably a lot of fraud. I had a poll, Washington Post, ABC, in the Hillary thing on Wisconsin. They had me down 17 points the day before the election. I knew it was wrong because I had a rally. I had 29,000 people at a racetrack, and it was like 0 degrees, Wisconsin. And they had me down 17 points. In other words, you had no chance. And I won. And I called up my pollster, who's a good guy, good guy. And I believe he's legitimate. And, some of them are, some of them aren't. I said, tell me, why did they have me down so much? I mean, nobody's going to believe them the next time. They said they don't care. When you're down.
They don't care. They don't care. This is why the polls are such bullshit. This is why the polls are such bullshit. If you're not listening, wake up.
They have me down so much. I mean, nobody's going to believe them the next time. They said they don't care. When you're down 17 points, people are going to stay home. They're not going to vote.
Right.
Because they're going to say, I love Trump, but I'm not going to waste my time. It's cold out. I said, but what do they make it 4 or 5? He said, at 4 or 5.
We got a fighting chance.
They're going to go and vote. At 17, they're not going to go and vote.
So
think of it. I was 7. This is the Washington Post ABC poll. I was down 17 points in Wisconsin, and I won. It's crooked stuff.
There's a lot of crooked stuff, and I wanted to talk about that too, because one of the things that people talk about with you is the denial of the results. And I think J.D. Vance did a brilliant job the other day when he was being interviewed, and they asked him, did Trump lose the 2020 election? And he turned it around and said, was there legitimate election interference in suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story on social media? And was that a concerted effort?
Well, they say.
And I think that is one of the few situations where, answering a question with a question is appropriate and not a cop-out. That, like, you're asking this question without you're asking this question without factoring in very important things. And so we need to bring this up. And so, okay, if you establish this, then I can answer your question based on what we are, but based on the reality of what you're asking about. But if the premise of your question doesn't make sense or misrepresents the reality of the situation, then you're good to go.
Made 10-point difference, and I lost by one tenth of a point. They say it was 22,000 votes, but look, it was much more than that. And I appreciate JD Vance saying that. And by the way, I think he was a great pick. Do you like JD?
I like him a lot. Me too. Dilly dilly to JD Vance. Again, when we're comparing him to Walls. Yikes.
You're allowed to say that.
No, I do. I like him a lot.
I
think he's a brilliant guy. And I think his ability to talk like a normal human being. You did my friend Theo Vonn's podcast,
Right.
and he just did it.
How did he do?
He did great. He just talks
Is that
like
why-
How did he do? I have no
You
idea.
called me
human
to
being.
do this? Is that why you called me to do this?
No. I was.
He was a nice
once
guy.
they shot you, I was like, he's got to come in here. It's all about timing. So
There you go. Once he got shot, that was the decider for Rogan. Dylan said Wallace is somehow worse than Pence. Well, I mean, apples and oranges, but yeah.
What about the timing?
Timing's
I think
good.
timing's perfect. Do you even have a scar on your ear? You got anything on there?
I do.
What do we say? What do we got?
So right over here.
Oh, it's a tiny little
See,
mark.
it zicked right there.
Zicked. It's zicked right there. Right there. Right here. Right. Wait, if I make my finger look like his finger, it's right here.
It healed up pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's not like some of the wrestlers, some of the UFC fighters.
Yeah, I'd be mad if it like completely went away. I got shot in the face on stage and I didn't even get a good scar from it. Like, come on, bro. Like, give me something.
Oh, you didn't
It's
get
a little bit.
cauliflower.
No. It was sort of like a top shot.
Mm-hmm.
The point of the bullet was a
Boy.
little of the S, but you see the thing's taken off a little bit. But it makes me a tougher guy. The fighters love their. Bo Nickel, he's a great fighter.
Yeah, I love Bo Nickel.
How's he going to do? I think he's
He's
terrific.
great. He's a fantastic
He was
fighter.
almost like undefeated in college.
He's a fantastic wrestler and one of the best mixed martial
When
artists.
is he fighting again?
He's fighting in Madison Square Garden in November.
And said I wasn't thrilled about Vance, but I didn't really know anything about him, and I think he's done very well. I agree. Yeah, if I had spent all that time training and I didn't get something to show for it, I'd be a little salty.
Oh, that's going to be an after the election.
Yep.
So I'll either go as president or I'll be depressed and I won't bother going. I think they're having a fight right now.
One of the things that was fascinating also was the denial of the election results is a pretty common thing. Hillary Clinton famously denied that she called you an illegitimate president. She said that Russia put you in place.
Even though she conceded.
Yes.
She conceded the night of the election because she was beaten.
Yes. And it was
it not the next morning?
A thing that was pretty common for people, especially Democrats, that deny the elections. There's been many of them. The Bush administration, the dangling chads, all that stuff.
Well, look at these guys in Congress. All these sleazebags in Congress that are Democrats, they're still denying 2016. But now they don't so much because, they try and pin it on me. You don't hear them say,
but here's my
they
point.
denied it right up until the end.
My point is this idea of election fraud is a forbidden topic. And you get labeled an election denier. It's like being labeled an anti-vaxxer if you question some of the health consequences that people have had from the COVID-19 shots. Oh,
in there.
My God, you're an anti-vaxxer. If you say, and what I say publicly, and I've said this a lot, it's not 0%. So if you ask me, what is the amount of election fraud in this country?
There's some.
Country. Is it 0%? No one thinks it's 0%. I've never met one person, not a super liberal, progressive, far left person or a right-wing conservative. Not one person thinks it's 0%. They think when you have human beings and also you have a lot of weirdness that was going on during the 2020 elections, particularly with mail-in ballots.
And you had legislatures that had to approve and they didn't approve and they went out and did it anyway. And you had old-fashioned ballot screwing. I mean, you had you have people going up and dropping in phony votes. You had unsigned ballots, et cetera, et cetera.
There's certain people that think that they have, and the rhetoric is also that you're Hitler, and that in order to stop Hitler, you have to do whatever it takes.
That was okay.
And that was where I was in 2016, that I legitimately believed. I believed everything they were saying about, oh, this guy's so bad, the world's going to end if you vote for him. And I felt like I had to, because if you don't remember, I was a Bernie bro in 2016. I was a Bernie bro. I've always been anti-establishment, even though I wasn't paying attention to politics. I was always interested in the issues. I just didn't understand how dirty of a game politics really was. Funkmaster General said Hillary didn't concede the night of. She had John Podesta do it for her. Well, I mean, an upstanding character like John Podesta, that's just about as good as you can get.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, you're hearing this now. Kamala compared you to, said your love of Hitler yesterday.
Kamala's a very low IQ person. She's a very low IQ. I'm for taking tests too. I think anybody that runs for president should give them tests. And it's not an age thing. It's not based. If you look back on history, 70s and 80s, some of your greatest leaders in the world history, long-time world history, they were in their 70s and their 80s. But I think you should take cognitive tests. I think they say it's unconstitutional, but
That's ridiculous.
I think Kamala should have a test because there's something missing. There's something wrong with her.
Well, I think
there's something wrong with her. Guys, again, if you have not hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do that. Ring the bell as well. But either way, subscribing is the best way to go.
Pressure. I think the pressure and the scrutiny, you've been a celebrity for a long time and you understand what this is like. But for someone who's in her late 40s, who becomes the vice president, who runs for president, becomes the vice president, and then all of a sudden the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And there's all these people paying attention. A lot of people clam up.
But you either have it or you don't.
Correct.
Look.
Clamming up. I think that's a great way to describe Kamala Harris's campaign. Clamming up. There's
all these people paying attention. A lot of people clam up.
But you either have it or you don't.
Correct.
Look, this is an interview. We've covered a lot of territory, right? And it's fun. I don't care.
Spot on. Am said integrity. That's what's missing. Some, ability to stand for anything besides wanting power. That's what's missing.
I want to. I think it's much more interesting. To do an interview with Anderson Cooper, a crazy softball interview. She took 2 days off and she studied all day long. And then she comes out with a result that was a real embarrassment. That was a really bad interview. She couldn't answer a question.
And I'm still waiting for people like us, people like Trump, people like, people who are going to be real are talking about okay, if she can't handle softball interviews with CNN and MSNBC and CBS, how is she going to deal with other world leaders? I don't know. I've heard that, but I don't know why that's not a much bigger conversation. That's real. That's not some culture war stuff. That's real. We need you to be on the world stage. And you can't even be on the stage in your fucking living room. So what about that?
And every question's not answered. I mean, what would you do your first day in office? Okay.
I was born in a middle-class family.
I'll build a wall. I won't build a wall. There's 100 things you can say. Just say anything, right? There's something off with her.
Well,
we're dealing with the smartest people. They hate when I say, when I call President Xi, they said, he called President Xi brilliant. Well, he's a brilliant guy. He controls 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, whether you like it or not. And they go crazy.
Right. Guys, I'm going to ask you one more time. Hit that share button. Please, guys, get this out wherever you can. It does not matter if you think nobody's going to click on the link. That does not matter. Please, just hit that share button. We are on the road to 5K. Let's do this. I need your guys' help. I cannot do it alone. So the Soul said a group of apes is called a Congress. Fitting.
Right. It doesn't mean he's not evil, or it doesn't mean he's not
of course not
dangerous.
But actually, we have evil people in our country.
Yes.
If you have a smart president, he can deal with Russia. He can deal with all of it. Russia would have never gone into Ukraine if I were president.
How would you have stopped it?
So we're going to end on a poll there. Do you believe Trump? When he says, do you believe that Putin would not have invaded if Trump was in office? Do you believe that Putin would not have invaded if Trump was in office? Let's end on that. That is the real question. Because if we honestly believe that he has the power to prevent something like that, then I don't really know what discussion is left to have. I don't know what there is left to discuss. What else could we be talking about?
Automatic, two things. I told him. I said, Vladimir, you're not going in. I used to talk to him all the time. You're not going in. I can't tell you what I told him because I think it would be inappropriate. But someday he'll tell you. But he would have never gone in. But you know why else he wouldn't have gone in? Oil prices at $40 a barrel wouldn't have allowed him, wouldn't have given him the money to prosecute that war, wouldn't have given him the money. I said it with I was with President Xi. I said it was almost the same conversation with Vladimir.
Hey, shout out to Villa Tube with a super original idea. Something we've never heard before. And this guy is weird. I'm sure you didn't hear anybody say that, right? You just decided on your own that talking about family and wanting America to do well is weird. Okay, dude. Carl said, if you could unalive baby Hitler knowing his future actions, would you be justified in doing so? I think so. I don't really understand why it is such a paradoxical question. I really don't. I really, really don't. The baby didn't do anything wrong. I get that part. But it's Hitler. So fuck that baby. Fuck that baby. 6 ways to Sunday. Well, if that timeline includes the Holocaust, then I'm good without it.
I was with President Xi. I said it was almost the same.
Yeah, right. And I remember Destiny. Well, nobody said. Everybody's saying he didn't engage in any wars. Like, whoa. What? We said no new wars. God damn it, Amp. God damn it.
Conversation with Vladimir, it was Moscow. With President Xi, it was Beijing. It was almost the exact same conversation. I said, don't do it. He would have never done it. The day I...
So, okay. We can, if you want to go down this road, this is what, you tell me if you want to abandon, because this is it right here. Where either I'm engaging with this or we have a couple more minutes of watching this. So you tell me if you want to bail, but this is where this ends. So what had happened was you're saying that you can destroy a whole timeline if you kill baby Hitler, and baby Hitler never wants it. Okay, all right, okay, because you were going to lose that. I'm just letting you know. That is not a good argument.
It was almost the exact same conversation. I said, don't do it. He would have never done it. The day I left, they flew 28 bombers over the middle of...
So, Am, what did you say then? And what did you mean to say? It's supposed to be anonymous. Now that you fucked it up, I have to do the math.
Taiwan. 28 bombers.
What about Taiwan?
Never. It was Beijing. It was almost the exact same conversation. I said, don't do it. He would have never done it.
No, well, the short thing is that if we were to use that idea that, well, you don't know, if you prevent this bad thing from happening, something worse could happen. Then I would ask you, okay, if you saw a man just RPing a girl on the side of the street, would you stop it if you needed to kill him? And if you said no, because something worse could happen, I would say that's a silly idea. So yes, kill baby Hitler and kill the ARPist. Shout out to Raymond. Welcome to party. So rule number 1 of time travel is never go back before you were born. Why? Your past can't become your new future, according to Smart Hulk, right? It doesn't matter. It's just a different timeline. I don't know. But welcome to the party. We are closing down soon, but we are still riding. Okay, so we need one more for yes. We're at 9. So it should be no. You said no, but you meant yes. Okay, so no is yes is in the lead. So if we get 2 more votes for no, then it will flip it. Otherwise, we then it doesn't work. Can't compare speculative actions and things that are already happening. That's the flaw in your opinion. No, it's not. We know. Okay, so what about future actions? We're not. You've already established that we knew. You established that we knew his future actions. We know those already. So the idea here is that person do bad thing. We stop person from doing bad thing, and potentially stopping person from doing bad thing can have worse thing. I agree with you. But that if you apply that to a child being RP'd in front of you, then that doesn't make any sense. So yes, if you stop an ARPist from doing that to a child, it is theoretical that something worse could happen from that situation. But you should still stop that from happening.
Beijing. It was almost the exact same conversation. I said, don't do it. He would have never done it. The day I left, they flew 28 bombers over the middle of Taiwan. 28 bombers. And it's the apple of his eye. And the same thing with Russia. It's the apple. Ukraine is the apple of his eye. I used to talk to him. I had a very good relationship with him. He wouldn't have done it. He would have never done it. But he also wouldn't have done it because of Theo. You know, one of the reasons that
or, you know, just go back and just don't fuck anybody because you don't know who's going to be who. Just don't fuck. Like, time travel's good. You're good. Just don't fuck them.
Happened is, number one, he doesn't respect Biden at all. Not even a little.
Who does? Who does respect Biden? Not me.
You know, one of the reasons that what happened is, number one, he doesn't respect Biden at all. Not even a little bit. And who the hell would? But he doesn't respect him. But when he saw what happened in Afghanistan, how horribly that was handled. Number one, you take the soldiers out last, not first. Okay, that was their big mistake. And we had that thing charted out, and they weren't obeying us. They weren't. Abdul is the head of the Taliban.
Were laid out.
Boom, boom. He had to do all these.
It was like what? I think I want to say 2 years. If I don't remember exactly, but I feel like it was a 2-year plan to slowly, gradually, and properly get out of Afghanistan. Raymond said Trump would have let Russia take Ukraine. Okay, why do you say that?
These things. Some he didn't do. I said, nope, you're not doing. You got to do them all. This guy he immediately took he left the equipment behind. 13 soldiers dead, but he took everybody out. He took his soldiers out before. A child would know. That's where Milley was so stupid. He was such a stupid guy, Milley. Okay, those generals should have all been fired. The people that were involved with Afghanistan should have all been fired. Then they'd be writing books about him, how stupid he was and bad he was. But you take your soldiers out last. I had a big rally, and I saw a child in the front row about a year and a half ago, and I called the child up. I said, do you mind if I borrow your child? Oh, yes, please. And they came up, kids 5 years. I gave them quick details, you know. I said, we want to get out of this place, and we have this, and we have this, and we have the equipment. I gave them a little thing. I said, do you take your soldiers out first or last after everything's done? You take them out last, sir. A child would know that.
Oh my God. Did that ever happen? Probably not. Probably not. But the fact that he is willing to say that is why I love this man. Oh my God. I cannot believe that we are living in the timeline, speaking of timeline, where Joe Rogan and Donald Trump are in the same room having an unedited, uncut, unfiltered conversation. This is amazing. Amazing. So, again, guys, we are definitely not going to be able to finish this. Let me make sure I got a note for where we're at. 128, 17. So tomorrow we will pick up right where we left off, guys. Man, this is very, very interesting. It's not that the conversation itself, the content of the conversation is brand new stuff that we never heard before. But seeing a politician at this level just be on for so far an hour and a half with another hour and a half left to go, we just don't get that. We just don't get that. And I expect that as we get closer to the end, there's more of a chance that, he will kind of either loosen up or kind of say something that might get him in trouble. I don't know. We will see. We will see. Seems legally was to be fair, but hilarious nonetheless. I don't know what that means, but sure. And hell yeah, we will definitely continue tomorrow. I don't know what time. I'm going to sleep and I'm getting up, and it's Saturday, right? Is it Saturday? What day is it? It's Saturday. Yeah. So tomorrow's my Sunday. Tomorrow's my Saturday. Tomorrow is Sunday, which is my Saturday. So I'm going to sleep when I want to sleep. We'll get up. I will let you guys know. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure, guys, that you have hit the subscribe button. It is very easy. It is free. It is cost you nothing, and it will make sure that you will always be part of the party. And if you really want to, ring that bell and make sure that you never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Of course, guys, we do have all of the merch here on TheIndianJesus.com. It's not just shirts. We got, what did I say? We had masks today. We got mouse pads. You can get, look at that. Oh, my God. Every time you look down at your mouse, you can get a skateboard. Get a goddamn skateboard and be like Tim Pool and scratch that, I don't know, whatever, all that stuff, all the way at TheIndianJesus.com. And of course, guys, the very last thing, make sure you join the Discord. That is what this is all about. I'm not here to just be a dancing monkey and money, please. We are building something. We are building a community. We are building a movement. If you want to be part of something that matters, if you want to build something, be part of something that matters, I am already building it. All you have to do is join. All you have to do is talk to people who you already want to talk to and learn about stuff that you already want to learn about. It's right there for you. I don't know how else to show you guys that this is really going to be something. And like I say all the time, we are so much closer to the beginning than to the end. So make sure you are there. We have so very, very much left to do, including making the God is bad at being a word shirt. No, I have not done that yet. I want to design with that. I don't just want that with words. So I got to think about what that is. And I'm not very good at that, but that is coming. There's always stuff in the works. I am always thinking about new stuff for you guys. And of course, in the Discord, it's not just hanging out and chit-chatting. We have movie nights. We have game nights. We have all that stuff. Trying to do more and more and more. Make sure you join, guys. It's not just about watching me say stuff. It's about being part of something bigger than yourself. If that doesn't appeal to you, then I don't really know why you're watching. But I'm glad you're here. But that is really what this is all about. So let's give a big shout out to the donations we had on What Did Foe, Carl's Frosted Tips, King Nirvana with $1. We had Soil to Soul, Dixie Insider with another $5. We had our boy, of course, Funk Master General with 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. And a co-sponsor in Texas, Bjorn Wrong with a $20 super chat. Let's give him all the goodies. There we go. Thank you so very, very much, guys. I will see you tomorrow. I will be live tomorrow. If you are not part of the Discord, if you're not subscribed, if you have not rung the bell, then you might miss some shit. You ain't gonna wanna miss some shit. So make sure you are there, and I will be here. Thank you. Once again, guys, this is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, a.k.a. The Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, that's tomorrow, guys. We are out of here. Peace.